Becoming Rich 1. Broke is a starting line, not a life sentence. The word broke carries weight that doesn't belong to you. It sits heavy on your chest when you check your bank balance. It whispers in your ear when friends suggest dinner out. It makes you feel small when you see others living the life you want. But here's what nobody tells you about being broke. It's not a character flaw, a permanent condition, or a reflection of your worth as a human being. Broke is simply data. It's information about your current financial position, nothing more and nothing less. Think of broke like being lost while driving. When you realize you've taken a wrong turn, you don't pull over and decide to live in your car forever. You don't call yourself a failure as a human being. You check your map, figure out where you are, and plot a new course to where you want to go. Being broke deserves the same practical, shame-free approach. You're not broken. You're not destined for struggle. You're simply at a starting point that millions of wealthy people have stood at before you. Every single day, people transform their financial lives. They go from negative net worth to positive, from living paycheck to having months of expenses saved, from drowning in debt to building investment portfolios, from feeling powerless about money to feeling completely in control. The only difference between people who stay broke and people who become wealthy isn't intelligence, luck, or family connections. It's the decision to treat their current situation as a beginning rather than an ending. Right now, wherever you are financially, you have more power than you realize. You have the ability to track where your money goes. You can decide what to do with the next dollar that comes into your life. You can learn skills that increase your income. You can change habits that have been draining your resources. You can make choices today that will compound into a completely different financial reality within months, not years. The first step in this transformation is getting brutally honest about your starting point. Most people who struggle with money live in a fog about their actual financial picture. They have a general sense that things are tight, but they've never sat down and mapped out exactly where they stand. This fog keeps them stuck because you cannot improve what you don't measure. You cannot solve problems you haven't clearly defined. Your financial starting point includes 5 key numbers that together tell the story of your current situation. Your monthly income is what flows in. Your monthly expenses are what flows out. Your total debts are what you owe. Your credit score reflects your borrowing reputation. Your net worth is the ultimate scoreboard, calculated by subtracting everything you owe from everything you own. These numbers might feel scary to calculate, but they're the foundation of every success story that follows. Many people avoid looking at these numbers because they're afraid of what they'll find. But here's the truth. Whatever your numbers are right now, they're workable. People have built wealth from deeper holes than yours. People with more debt, less income, and worse credit have turned their situations around completely. Your current numbers are not a judgment on your potential. They're simply your starting coordinates on the map to financial freedom. Once you have clarity on where you stand, you need clarity on why you want to change. Your why is the fuel that will power you through the inevitable challenges ahead. When you're tempted to skip the meal planning that saves you money, when you're tired from working extra hours to increase your income, when you're frustrated that progress feels slow, your why will pull you forward. Your why cannot be shallow or borrowed from someone else. It has to come from deep inside you and connect to what you truly value. Maybe you want to break a family pattern of financial struggle, so your children see a different example. Maybe you want the peace of mind that comes with having money in the bank and no debt payments. Maybe you want the freedom to work because you choose to, not because you have to. Maybe you want to be able to help others without putting your own security at risk. Whatever your why is, it needs to be specific and emotional enough that you can feel it in your body when you think about it. Write it down. Make it real. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. This why will be your North Star when motivation fades and obstacles appear. With your starting point mapped and your why crystallized, the next step is to start tracking every dollar that moves through your life without trying to change anything yet. For 30 days, simply observe where your money comes from and where it goes. Use whatever method works for you: a notebook, a phone app, a spreadsheet, or even receipts in a shoebox. The tool doesn't matter. The awareness does. During this 30-day clarity audit, Practice viewing your spending patterns with curiosity instead of judgment. You're not looking for reasons to criticize yourself. You're gathering intelligence. You're becoming a detective in your own financial life, collecting clues about your current patterns so you can design better ones. Notice which expenses feel aligned with your values and which ones don't. Notice which purchases you remember making and which ones seem to have happened on autopilot. Notice which spending brings you genuine satisfaction and which leaves you feeling empty. Notice the times when you spend emotionally versus practically. All of this information is valuable data for the changes you'll make moving forward. The goal of this tracking period is not to create guilt or shame about past choices. The goal is to create awareness that enables better future choices. Every wealthy person understands this principle. You must know where your money is going before you can direct it where you want it to go. As you move through these 30 days of tracking, you'll likely start noticing patterns you weren't aware of before. Small expenses that add up to significant amounts. Subscriptions you forgot you had. Impulse purchases that happen in certain emotional states. Money that seems to disappear without any clear destination. This awareness alone will begin shifting your relationship with money, even before you make any intentional changes. This journey from broke to financially free is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's not about never making mistakes with money. It's about learning from those mistakes and making fewer of them over time. It's not about depriving yourself of everything you enjoy. It's about aligning your spending with what truly matters to you so you can have more of what you actually want. Every person who has built wealth started exactly where you are right now, with a decision to change their financial trajectory. They looked at their LARCPAC situation honestly, connected with their deeper motivations, and began taking small, consistent steps in a new direction. The path they walked is the same path available to you today. The only question is whether you're ready to take the first step. Your current broke status is not a life sentence. It's simply your starting line. And starting lines are beautiful things because they represent the beginning of every race worth running. 2. Money Mindset Reset. Rewiring for Wealth. Your relationship with money was forged long before you ever held a dollar bill. It was shaped by whispered conversations between your parents when bills arrived, by the way your family celebrated or stressed over financial decisions, and by countless tiny moments that taught you what money meant. Most people carry these early money scripts through their entire lives without ever questioning whether those beliefs serve them or sabotage them. The truth is that becoming wealthy requires more than just learning tactics and strategies. It demands a fundamental rewiring of how you think about money, abundance, and your own worthiness to receive financial success. Your current financial results are largely a reflection of your internal money programming, and until you upgrade that programming, you'll keep hitting invisible ceilings that prevent lasting wealth building. Scarcity thinking shows up in predictable patterns. You might catch yourself saying things like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people are greedy," or "I'm just not good with money." These statements feel true because they've been reinforced for years, but they're actually just beliefs, not facts. Every time you repeat these scripts, you're programming your mind to look for evidence that supports limitation rather than possibility. The first step in rewiring your money mindset is becoming aware of these automatic thoughts. Start paying attention to what runs through your mind when you see expensive items, when you think about wealthy people, or when you consider your own financial goals. Notice the little voice that whispers, "That's not for people like me," or "I could never afford that." These moments of awareness are gold mines because they reveal exactly which beliefs need updating. Once you've identified a limiting belief, the most powerful way to change it is through evidence collection. Your brain believes what it sees repeatedly, so you need to start feeding it examples that contradict your old programming. If you believe money is hard to come by, start looking for evidence of money flowing easily. Notice when you find a coin on the ground, when someone pays you back unexpectedly, or when you discover a forgotten gift card. These small examples begin to crack the foundation of scarcity thinking. The evidence hunt works because it trains your brain's attention system to notice abundance instead of lack. When you actively look for examples of money flowing, opportunities appearing, or financial success stories, you literally rewire your neural pathways. Your brain has a filtering system that shows you more of whatever you focus on. So if you've been focusing on financial struggle, that's what you'll keep seeing. When you deliberately shift your focus to financial possibility, new opportunities start appearing everywhere. Environment design plays a crucial role in maintaining your new money mindset. The physical and digital spaces around you should reinforce wealth-building behaviors and beliefs. This might mean placing inspiring books about money in visible places, setting your phone background to an image that represents your financial goals, or creating a vision board that reminds you daily of what you're working toward. Every visual cue in your environment either supports your new identity as someone who builds wealth or reinforces your old identity as someone who struggles with money. Your social environment matters even more than your physical environment. The people you spend time with have enormous influence over your beliefs and behaviors, often without you realizing it. If your friends constantly complain about money, joke about being broke, or express negative opinions about wealthy people, their attitudes will gradually become your attitudes. This doesn't mean you need to abandon old friendships, but it does mean you need to be intentional about adding new voices to your circle. Look for people who have achieved what you want to achieve financially. These might be mentors, authors, online communities, or local networking groups. You need regular exposure to people who think differently about money than you currently do. When you hear someone casually mention investing, starting a business, or planning for financial independence, it normalizes these behaviors in your mind. What seems impossible when you're surrounded by scarcity thinking becomes inevitable when you're surrounded by abundance thinking. Social media can be a powerful tool for reshaping your money mindset if used intentionally. Instead of following accounts that promote lifestyle inflation or financial victimhood, seek out content creators who share practical wealth-building strategies and maintain positive attitudes about money. Consume content that reinforces your new identity as someone who is capable of building wealth. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate or that reinforce limiting beliefs about money. The language you use to describe your financial situation has more power than most people realize. Words create reality. So if you constantly describe yourself as broke, terrible with money, or unlucky, you're programming your subconscious mind to maintain those conditions. Start experimenting with more empowering language. Instead of "I can't afford it," try "I'm choosing to spend my money on other priorities right now." Instead of "I'm broke," try "I'm in a building phase." These subtle shifts in language create subtle shifts in identity, which create dramatic shifts in results over time. Visualization is another powerful tool for rewiring your money mindset, but it needs to be done correctly to be effective. Simply daydreaming about being rich won't change anything. Effective visualization involves imagining yourself successfully completing wealth-building behaviors. Picture yourself confidently negotiating a raise, calmly reviewing your investment portfolio, or competently managing a business. When you repeatedly visualize yourself acting like someone who builds wealth, you start to actually become that person. Many people struggle with feeling worthy of financial success. They carry guilt about wanting more money or worry that pursuing wealth makes them selfish. This worthiness issue will sabotage every wealth-building effort until it's addressed directly. The truth is that building wealth allows you to take care of yourself and others more effectively. When you're financially secure, you can be more generous, take better care of your health, and contribute more meaningfully to causes you care about. Poverty helps no one, but wealth can help everyone in your circle. Start practicing receiving in small ways to build your worthiness muscles. When someone offers to pay for coffee, accept gracefully instead of insisting on paying them back immediately. When you receive a compliment, say thank you instead of deflecting or minimizing it. These micro practices of receiving prepare you to receive larger financial opportunities when they appear. The compound effect applies to mindset work just as much as it applies to money. Small daily practices of thinking abundantly create massive changes over time. Spend 5 minutes each morning visualizing your financial goals as already achieved. Throughout the day, notice and appreciate examples of abundance around you. Before bed, write down 3 financial wins from the day, No matter how small, these practices might seem insignificant in the moment, but they're rewiring your brain at a deep level. Your new money mindset needs regular maintenance and reinforcement. Old thought patterns will try to resurface, especially during stressful times or financial setbacks. This is normal and expected. The key is catching yourself quickly when you slip back into scarcity thinking and gently redirecting your thoughts toward abundance and possibility. Think of mindset work as mental hygiene that requires daily attention, just like brushing your teeth. Changing your money mindset is not about positive thinking or denying financial reality. It's about upgrading your mental programming to support wealth-building behaviors instead of sabotaging them. When your mindset is aligned with your financial goals, the strategies and tactics you'll learn in the following chapters will be far more effective. Your new abundant mindset becomes the foundation upon which lasting wealth is built. Reader Challenge. Choose one limiting money belief you identified while reading this chapter. Over the next 7 days, actively collect 5 specific examples that contradict this belief. Write them down and review them daily. Notice how your perspective begins to shift as you accumulate evidence that supports a more abundant worldview. 3. The net worth wake-up. Measure what matters. Most people measure their financial progress the wrong way. They look at their paycheck, count the cash in their wallet, or celebrate when their checking account balance creeps higher. These numbers feel important because they're visible and immediate, but they're missing the bigger picture entirely. Your income isn't your wealth. Your bank balance isn't your financial health. The number that actually determines whether you're winning or losing the money game is your net worth, and most people have never calculated theirs even once. Net worth is brutally honest. It doesn't care about your job title, your expensive car, or how much you spent on dinner last night. It simply asks one question. If you sold everything you own and paid off everything you owe, what would be left? That number tells the real story of your financial life. Think of net worth as your financial report card. Every financial decision you make either increases it or decreases it. When you buy something that holds or grows in value, your net worth goes up. When you take on debt for things that lose value, your net worth goes down. When you pay off debt or save money, your net worth climbs higher. This is why someone earning $60,000 per year might be wealthier than someone earning $100,000. The higher earner might be drowning in car payments, credit card debt, and a mortgage they can barely afford, while the modest earner saves consistently and avoids expensive mistakes. Income is what you make, but net worth is what you keep. Calculating your net worth requires complete honesty about your financial situation. Start by listing everything you own that has real value. Your home, if you own one, counts at its current market value, not what you paid for it or what you hope it's worth. Your cars count at what you could actually sell them for today, which is probably less than you think. Include your bank accounts, retirement accounts, and any investments you might have. Don't inflate these numbers to make yourself feel better. If your car has a loan balance of $15,000 but you could only sell it for $12,000, it's worth $12,000. If you bought something expensive that you never use, it's worth whatever someone would actually pay for it, not what you originally spent. Next comes the uncomfortable part, listing everything you owe: credit card balances, student loans, car loans, mortgage balances, money borrowed from family, unpaid medical bills, and any other debts you might be carrying. Write down the full amount you owe on each debt, not just the minimum payment. Now subtract what you owe from what you own. The result is your net worth. If the number is negative, don't panic. A negative net worth simply means you're in the hole, and knowing how deep that hole is gives you the information you need to climb out. Many people avoid this calculation because they're afraid of what they'll find. They sense their financial situation isn't great, so they prefer the comfortable fog of not knowing exactly how bad things are. This is like avoiding the scale when you're trying to lose weight, or refusing to open bills when money is tight. The problem doesn't disappear because you're not looking at it. Your first net worth calculation might be discouraging, especially if you're starting from a place of financial struggle. You might discover that despite years of working, you have very little to show for it. You might realize that your lifestyle has been funded by debt rather than actual wealth building. This wake-up call, though painful, is incredibly valuable. The magic happens when you start tracking your net worth over time. Calculate it monthly, on the same day each month, using the same method. Create a simple tracking system that you'll actually use. Some people prefer a basic spreadsheet, while others use apps or online tools. The method matters less than the consistency. As you track your net worth month by month, you'll start to see patterns. You'll notice how certain decisions move the needle in the right direction, while others set you back. You'll see the compound effect of small, consistent actions. Even modest progress becomes motivating when you can see it accumulating over time. Understanding the difference between assets and liabilities becomes crucial once you start thinking in net worth terms. An asset puts money in your pocket or grows in value over time. A liability takes money out of your pocket or loses value. The path to building wealth is simple. Acquire more assets and fewer liabilities. Your home can be an asset if you own it outright or have significant equity, but it's also a liability because it costs money to maintain. Your car is almost always a liability because it loses value rapidly and costs money to insure, fuel, and repair. Your education might be an asset if it increases your earning power, but student loans used to pay for it are definitely liabilities. This perspective changes how you make purchasing decisions. Before buying something significant, ask yourself whether it will increase or decrease your net worth over time. A reliable used car that gets you to work is different from an expensive new car that impresses your neighbors. Both get you from point A to point B, but one builds wealth while the other destroys it. The monthly Wealth Delta Review becomes your new financial ritual. Each month, calculate the change in your net worth from the previous month. Did it go up or down? By how much? What specific actions contributed to that change? This review helps you connect your daily money decisions to your long-term wealth building. Some months will show dramatic improvement, especially when you receive tax refunds, bonuses, or pay off debts. Other months might show smaller gains or even temporary setbacks. The key is maintaining momentum over time rather than expecting linear progress every single month. Your net worth tracking also reveals the true cost of financial mistakes. That expensive vacation charged to credit cards doesn't just cost what you spent. It reduces your net worth by the full amount and then continues to shrink it through interest payments until the debt is paid off. This clarity helps you make better decisions going forward. The psychological impact of net worth tracking extends beyond just knowing numbers. It shifts your identity from someone who earns money to someone who builds wealth. You start thinking like an owner rather than just a consumer. You begin to see yourself as a steward of resources rather than just someone who spends what they make. This new perspective influences every aspect of your financial life. You become more intentional about spending, more aggressive about earning, and more strategic about saving and investing. You start to see wealth building as a skill that can be developed rather than something that just happens to other people. Your day one net worth calculation marks the beginning of your wealth building journey, regardless of whether that number is positive or negative. It's your baseline, your starting point, your before picture. Every month forward, you'll measure your progress against this number. Years from now, you'll look back at this moment as the day you stopped guessing about your finances and started managing them with precision. The most successful people understand that what gets measured gets managed. Your net worth is the ultimate measure of your financial progress, and tracking it consistently will transform how you think about money forever. Calculate your net worth today. Write it down. Share it with someone you trust. Then commit to checking it every month for the next year. This simple practice will do more for your wealth building than any other single action you can take. 4. Stop the bleed. Expense surgery in 7 days. Your money has been slowly leaving your life through 1,000 tiny cuts. Most people never notice the bleeding until they wonder why their bank account stays empty despite earning decent money. The problem is not that you are spending too much on big, obvious things. The problem is that money leaks out through dozens of small holes you have never properly identified or plugged. Think of your finances like a bucket with holes in the bottom. You can pour more water in the top all day long, but until you patch the leaks, you will never fill that bucket. Most people focus entirely on earning more money without ever stopping to examine where their current money actually goes. This approach keeps you running on a financial treadmill forever. The average person has no idea they are paying for 17 different things they forgot they signed up for. Your bank account gets charged monthly for services you used once 2 years ago. Your credit card gets hit with fees you never knew existed. Your spending has grown to match your income through a process so gradual you never felt it happening. This is called lifestyle creep, and it has been stealing your future wealth one comfortable decision at a time. The solution is expense surgery, and you are going to perform it in the next 7 days. This is not about living like a monk or cutting out every small pleasure. This is about becoming conscious of where your money goes and making intentional decisions about what deserves space in your financial life. Every dollar you save here becomes a dollar you can redirect toward building wealth. Start by gathering every statement from the past 3 months. Your bank account, credit cards, subscriptions, and any automatic payments. Print them out or pull them up on your computer. You are about to become a financial detective, and the case you are solving is where your money has been hiding. Look for anything that repeats monthly or annually. These recurring charges are usually the biggest opportunity for quick savings because they continue forever until you actively stop them. You will find gym memberships you forgot about, streaming services you never use, software subscriptions that auto-renewed, insurance policies you never compared, and memberships to things you joined once and never returned to. Circle every recurring charge and write down what it costs per year. That $12 monthly subscription actually costs you $144 annually. That $25 membership fee is $300 per year. When you see the true annual cost, the decision to keep or cut becomes much clearer. Now apply the 3 cuts method to everything you circled. Cut number 1 is eliminate. This means completely canceling anything you do not actively use and value. Be honest with yourself. If you have not used something in the past 60 days, you probably do not need it. Cancel it immediately before you finish this chapter. Cut number 2 is downgrade. Look at services where you pay for premium features you never use. You might have the deluxe package when the basic version would serve you just fine. You might be paying for unlimited everything when you only use a small portion. Downgrade to the level that matches your actual usage. Cut number 3 is negotiate. For services you definitely want to keep, call and ask for a better rate. Most companies have retention departments whose job is keeping customers by offering discounts. They would rather keep you at a lower rate than lose you entirely. Have a friendly conversation and ask what options they have to reduce your bill. The key phrase that works surprisingly often is simply asking, "What can you do to help me lower to this bill?" Do not be aggressive or demanding. Be friendly and patient. Explain that you are reviewing your expenses and looking for ways to reduce costs. Many times they will offer you a discount just for asking. For larger bills like insurance or phone service, get quotes from competitors first. When you call your current provider, mention that you have found a better rate elsewhere and ask if they can match it. This gives them a specific target to work with and shows you have done your homework. Next, examine your variable expenses using the 10 times question. For every expense, ask yourself whether this purchase creates or protects income that is at least 10 times the cost. A $200 business course that helps you earn $3,000 more passes the test. A $200 gadget that sits in your drawer does not. This question helps you distinguish between expenses that move you forward and expenses that just feel good in the moment. Expenses that create or protect future income are investments in yourself. Everything else is consumption. Both have a place in your life, but you need to be intentional about the balance. Now you are ready for a no-spend sprint. This is a short period where you only pay for absolute necessities. Your necessities are housing, basic food, transportation to work, and minimum debt payments. Everything else waits. A typical no-spend sprint lasts 7 to 30 days, depending on your situation and goals. The purpose is not to live this way forever. The purpose is to break unconscious spending habits and reset your relationship with money. When you cannot buy something immediately, you start to notice how often you reach for purchases to solve problems or change how you feel. This awareness is valuable even after the sprint ends. During your no-spend period, write down everything you want to buy but cannot. Keep a list on your phone or in a notebook. Most of these desires will fade within a few days. Items that still seem important after a week might be worth buying later. This simple delay prevents impulse purchases that you would regret. The biggest challenge with cutting expenses is rebound spending. This happens when you restrict yourself too much and then overcorrect by spending more than before. Avoid this by redirecting your savings immediately towards something important to you. The moment you cut an expense, set up an automatic transfer for that amount to your emergency fund or debt payment. For example, if you cancel a $40 monthly subscription, immediately create a $40 monthly transfer to savings. This serves two purposes. First, it ensures the money actually gets saved instead of disappearing into your general spending. Second, it makes the sacrifice feel worthwhile because you can see your progress in another area. Make this process easier on yourself by removing temptation. Unsubscribe from retailer email lists that constantly pitch you sales. Delete shopping applications from your phone. Take different routes that do not pass by stores where you tend to overspend. Change your environment to support your new spending habits. Replace expensive habits with cheaper alternatives that meet the same underlying need. If you buy coffee every morning, learn to make it at home and invest in good equipment. If you eat lunch out every day, prepare meals on weekends and bring them to work. If you shop for entertainment, find free activities you enjoy, like hiking, reading library books, or meeting friends at parks instead of restaurants. Track your progress daily during this 7-day surgery. Write down how much you have cut and where you plan to redirect those savings. Celebrate each successful cut, no matter how small. $20 saved is $20 earned, and it adds up faster than you expect. This is not about permanent deprivation. This is about taking control and making conscious choices about your money. Once you have stopped the bleeding and redirected those funds toward your goals, you can decide which expenses to add back if they truly add value to your life. The goal is cutting at least $200 per month in the next 7 days. For most people, this is completely achievable just by eliminating forgotten subscriptions and negotiating a few bills. $200 monthly becomes $2,400 annually, which becomes a fully funded emergency fund, debt elimination, or investment account starter. Your challenge for this chapter is simple but powerful. In the next 7 days, cut at least $200 per month from your expenses and immediately redirect that money toward your most important financial goal. Print this commitment and put it somewhere you will see it every day. Your future wealthy self will thank you for taking control right now. 5. Income on demand. Turning skills into cash flow. The fastest way to change your financial situation isn't cutting another $10 from your grocery budget or finding a slightly better savings account. It's making more money, and it's easier than you think. Right now, sitting in your brain and body, you have skills, knowledge, and abilities that other people will gladly pay for. The problem isn't that you lack valuable skills. The problem is that you haven't learned to see them clearly or package them in a way that solves someone else's problem. Most people approach making extra money backward. They look for opportunities first, then try to fit themselves into those opportunities. They scroll through job boards, sign up for delivery apps, or search for ways to make money that require them to learn something completely new. This approach takes forever and often leads nowhere. The smart approach is to start with what you already have, then find people who need exactly that. Take a mental inventory of everything you know how to do. Don't just think about your job skills, though those count too. Think about everything. Can you organize a messy garage? Do you know how to set up a sound system? Can you explain complicated topics in simple terms? Are you good with animals, children, or elderly people? Do you have a truck or a particular tool that others might need to borrow? Can you cook a meal that makes people ask for the recipe? Every single one of these abilities represents potential income. The woman who organizes garages can charge $50 an hour to help busy professionals declutter their homes. The person who explains things well can tutor students or teach adults new skills. The truck owner can help people move furniture or haul away junk. The cook can meal prep for busy families or cater small gatherings. The key is understanding that people don't buy skills. They buy solutions to problems. When someone hires the garage organizer, they're not buying organizing skills. They're buying back their weekend, reducing their stress, and getting a space they can actually use. When parents hire a tutor, they're not buying knowledge transfer. They're buying their child's confidence, their own peace of mind, and a better family dynamic around homework time. This distinction changes everything about how you present what you offer. Instead of saying, "I organize things," you say, "I turn chaotic garages into functional spaces where you can actually find what you need and park your car." Instead of, "I can help with homework," you say, "I help struggling students catch up and feel confident about school again." Once you've identified a skill that solves a real problem, you need to validate that people will actually pay for it. This is where most people get stuck. They spend weeks or months building a perfect service, creating materials, setting up systems, and then discover that nobody wants what they're offering. Skip this expensive mistake by validating first. Validation means finding out if people will give you money before you build anything elaborate. Start by talking to potential customers about their problems. Don't pitch your solution yet, just listen. Ask questions like, "What's the most frustrating part of keeping your home organized?" Or, "What happens when your child struggles with homework?" Or, "What's the biggest challenge when you need to move heavy items?" Listen carefully to their answers. Pay attention to the words they use to describe their problems and the emotions behind those words. These exact phrases will become the foundation of how you talk about your service later. When someone says, "I just want to be able to find things without digging through boxes," that's not just feedback. That's marketing copy. After you understand the problem deeply, craft a simple offer. This offer should have 3 components: the specific pain you solve, the clear promise you make, and the price you charge. Keep it simple enough that you can explain it in 1 or 2 sentences. "I organize your garage so you can find anything in under a minute and actually park your car inside, and it takes me 1 Saturday for $300. Notice how specific this is. Not, "I organize spaces," but "I organize your garage." Not, "You'll have a cleaner space, but you can find anything in under a minute and park your car inside." Not, "Reasonable rates," but $300. Specificity creates confidence. When people can picture exactly what they're getting and exactly what it costs, they can make a decision. Now comes the crucial part. Selling before you perfect. Take your simple offer and present it to real people who have the problem you solve. Don't wait until you have a website, business cards, or a detailed process. Just start conversations. Talk to neighbors, friends, family members, people in community groups, parents at school pickup, colleagues at work. The goal isn't to make 100 sales immediately. The goal is to get one person to say yes and give you money. That first yes proves your offer works. It also gives you your first case study and testimonial. More importantly, it forces you to actually deliver the service, which teaches you what works and what doesn't in a real situation with real stakes. Your first few customers are essentially paying you to figure out your process. This might feel backward, but it's actually how every successful service business starts. You learn by doing, not by planning. Each customer teaches you something new about how to deliver better results, how to communicate more clearly, or how to price more appropriately. As you deliver your service, pay attention to which parts create the most value for customers. Often, what you think is the main benefit isn't what customers value most. The garage organizer might discover that customers care more about having labeled systems they can maintain than about the initial cleaning. The tutor might find that parents value the weekly progress updates more than the actual tutoring sessions. These insights help you refine your Offer and justify higher prices. Speed matters more than perfection when you're starting. The person who gets their first customer this weekend and learns from that experience will be ahead of the person who spends a month planning the perfect service. Your first attempt won't be perfect, and that's exactly the point. You're not trying to build a perfect business immediately. You're trying to prove that you can solve problems people will pay for. Once you've proven your concept with a few customers, you can start systematizing and scaling. But not before. Too many people skip the validation phase and build elaborate systems for services nobody wants. Others validate their idea but then get stuck trying to perfect their delivery before getting more customers. The path forward is always the same. Sell, deliver, learn, improve, repeat. The beautiful thing about turning skills into cash flow is that it creates a flywheel effect. Your first customer pays you and teaches you how to serve. The next customer better. Your second customer pays you more and refers someone else. Your improved skills let you charge higher prices and serve customers faster. What started as a way to make a few $100 extra can become a serious income stream that rivals or exceeds your day job. Start today by making a list of 10 things you're good at, then identifying one problem each skill could solve for someone else. Pick the one that feels most natural to you and find 3 people who have that problem. Talk to them about their frustration, craft a simple offer, and ask if they want your help. The distance between where you are now and your first paying customer is shorter than you think. 6. Your first $1,000. Cushion, emergency fund sprint. The journey from broke to rich isn't a straight line. It's more like a series of mountain climbs where each peak gives you a better view of where you're going and the confidence to tackle the next challenge. Your first major peak is building a $1,000 emergency fund. And reaching it changes everything about how you feel about money. Most people who are serious about their finances get caught up in debates about whether to pay off debt first or save first. The math people will tell you to attack high-interest debt because you're losing money every day you don't. The behavior people will tell you to save first because emergencies always happen at the worst possible time. Both sides are right, which is exactly why this decision paralyzes so many people. Here's the truth that cuts through the noise. A small emergency fund isn't about math, it's about psychology. When you have nothing saved and an emergency hits, you have no choice but to reach for credit cards or loans. This keeps you trapped in a cycle where you make progress on debt, get hit with an unexpected expense, borrow to cover it, and end up worse than where you started. The $1,000 cushion breaks this cycle by giving you breathing room. Think of this. Emergency fund as insurance for your financial progress. You're not trying to cover 6 months of expenses right now. You're not even trying to cover a major car repair or medical bill. You're simply creating a buffer that handles the small emergencies that derail most people's financial plans. The flat tire, the broken phone, the surprise bill that shows up right when you thought you were getting ahead. The speed at which you build this fund matters more than you might think. Every day you don't have it is another day you're vulnerable to setbacks. This is why we're calling it a sprint instead of a marathon. You want this money in the bank as fast as possible, even if it means making some temporary sacrifices or putting in extra effort for a few weeks. The fastest way to find this money is already sitting in your house. Look around your living space, and you'll see hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of items you no longer use, need, or even remember you own. The declutter sell-off isn't just about making space in your home. It's about converting dead money back into working money. That exercise bike collecting dust could be $200 toward your emergency fund. The books you'll never read again, the clothes that don't fit, the electronics you've upgraded from, the kitchen gadgets you used once, they're all emergency fund contributions waiting to happen. Start with the obvious items, the things you know you don't want or need anymore. Take pictures and list them for sale the same day you decide to get rid of them. Price items to move quickly rather than trying to get every last dollar. Remember, the goal is speed, not maximum recovery. An item sold for 70% of its value today is infinitely better than an item that sits unsold for months because you priced it too high. While you're converting possessions to cash, look for opportunities to earn money through short-term focused effort. This might mean picking up extra shifts at work, taking on a weekend project for a neighbor, or diving into delivery driving for a few weeks. The key is treating this like the sprint it is, rather than trying to find something sustainable long term. You're willing to work harder than normal for a short period because you know exactly why you're doing it and when you can stop. Don't overlook money that's already yours but hasn't found its way back to you yet. Check for unclaimed property through your state's Treasury website. Review your past tax returns to make sure you claimed every credit and deduction you were entitled to. Call your insurance companies to ask about discounts you might be missing. Contact your phone and internet providers to see if there are cheaper plans that meet your needs. These aren't dramatic moves, but they add up quickly when you're focused on a specific target. The question of where to keep this emergency money is simpler than most people make it. You want it easily accessible but not so convenient that you spend it on non-emergencies. A high-yield savings account at an online bank typically offers the best combination of earning potential and accessibility. The interest rate isn't going to make you rich, but it's better than earning nothing while keeping your money safe and available. Some people worry about having to wait a day or two for transfers from online banks, but this slight delay is actually a feature, not a bug. Real emergencies can wait a day or two for money to transfer. The things that feel urgent but can't wait for a bank transfer usually aren't true emergencies. This small friction helps ensure you use the fund for its intended purpose. Set up the account as soon as you decide to build your emergency fund, even if you only have $20 to put in it initially. Having the account ready makes it easy to deposit money as you earn it from your declutter sales and extra income efforts. Many banks will waive fees or provide bonuses for new accounts, which gives your emergency fund a small head start. Once you start building the fund, create a simple system for adding to it without feeling the impact on your daily spending. Set up small, automatic transfers from your checking account, even if it's only $25 per week. Round up purchases to the nearest $5 or $10 and transfer the difference to your emergency fund. When you receive any unexpected money, whether it's a rebate, a gift, or money from selling something, send at least half of it directly to the emergency fund. The psychology of watching this account grow is powerful. Every deposit, no matter how small, represents progress toward a specific goal. You can see exactly how much closer you are to your target, and you can calculate how long it will take to reach it based on your current savings rate. This clarity and momentum often motivates people to find additional money they didn't think they had. As your emergency fund grows, you'll notice something interesting happening. You'll feel differently about money decisions because you know you have options. When the car makes a strange noise, instead of hoping it goes away because you can't afford to fix it, you know you can handle whatever the mechanic finds. When work gets stressful, you don't feel as trapped because you have a small buffer that gives you time to make better decisions. The $1,000 target isn't arbitrary. It's large enough to handle most of the small emergencies that derail financial progress, but small enough that you can reach it quickly with focused effort. Once you hit this milestone, you'll have proof that you can set a financial goal and achieve it, which builds the confidence you'll need for bigger challenges ahead. Reaching your first $1,000 of savings often marks the moment when you stop thinking of yourself as someone who's broke and start thinking of yourself as someone who's building wealth. The actual amount isn't life-changing, but the identity shift is everything. You become someone who has emergency money, someone who plans ahead, someone who makes financial progress happen instead of hoping it happens. This emergency fund is temporary in the sense that it's not your final destination, but it's permanent in the sense that you'll never let it disappear. Even as you build larger emergency funds later, pay off debt, and start investing, this initial cushion remains your foundation. It's the financial security that lets you take smart risks and make optimal decisions without fear. The reader challenge for this chapter asks you to hit your $1,000 emergency fund target in 21 days and share your plan for getting there. This timeline might seem aggressive, but it's designed to create urgency and focus. When you give yourself too much time to reach a goal, it's easy to procrastinate or get distracted by other priorities. The 21-day deadline forces you to take immediate action and maintain momentum. Your plan might include selling $300 worth of items you no longer need, picking up 2 extra shifts at work for $400, finding $200 in subscription cancellations and service downgrades, and transferring $100 from money you already have saved elsewhere. The exact combination doesn't matter as much as having a specific plan that adds up to your target and committing to executing it within your deadline. Building your first emergency fund is ultimately about proving to yourself that you can take control of your finances. It's about creating momentum that carries over into every other area of your financial life. It's about building the foundation that supports everything else you want to accomplish with money. Most importantly, it's about transforming from someone who reacts to financial emergencies into someone who's prepared for them. 7. Debt domination. Avalanche versus snowball. The hybrid play. The weight of debt can feel crushing, like carrying a boulder uphill while everyone else seems to sprint past you effortlessly. But here's what nobody tells you about debt. It's not a moral failing, it's simply math with emotions attached. Once you understand both sides of that equation, you can design a payoff strategy that works with your psychology instead of against it. First, let's get clear on what you're actually dealing with. Not all debt is created equal, and understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt will save you years of misguided effort. Good debt is money borrowed to acquire assets that appreciate in value or generate income over time. A mortgage on a property that increases in value, a business loan that generates more income than it costs, or education debt that leads to higher earning potential all fall into this category. Bad debt, on the other hand, is borrowed money used to purchase depreciating assets or consumption items, credit cards used for vacations, car loans for vehicles that lose, value the moment you drive off the lot, or store financing for furniture and electronics represent bad debt. This distinction matters because it determines your payoff priority. Bad debt should be eliminated aggressively, while good debt might be managed strategically. If you have a mortgage at 3% interest but can earn 5% in investments, paying extra on the mortgage might actually cost you money in the long run. However, if you're losing sleep over any debt, regardless of the interest rate, there's value in the peace of mind premium. Sometimes the psychological benefit of being debt-free outweighs the mathematical optimization. Now, let's examine the two primary debt elimination strategies that have helped millions of people escape the debt trap. The debt avalanche method focuses purely on mathematics. You list all your debts by interest rate from highest to lowest, make minimum payments on everything, then throw every extra dollar at the highest rate debt until it's gone. Once eliminated, you move to the next highest rate. This method saves you the most money in interest over time because you're eliminating the most expensive debt first. The debt snowball method, popularized by financial advisors who understand human psychology, takes a different approach. You list all debts by balance from smallest to largest, make minimum payments on everything, then attack the smallest balance with all available extra money. Once that's paid off, you roll that payment into the next smallest balance, creating a snowball effect. This method costs more in interest over time, but provides psychological wins that keep people motivated through the long journey of debt elimination. Both methods work, but they work for different types of people. The avalanche method appeals to those who can stay motivated by spreadsheets and long-term thinking. These people can delay gratification for months or years because they know they're optimizing their financial outcome. The snowball method works better for people who need frequent victories to maintain momentum. If you've tried and failed to pay off debt multiple times, the psychological boost of early wins might be exactly what you need to finally succeed. But here's where most advice stops, and where real transformation begins. You don't have to choose just one method. The hybrid approach combines the mathematical efficiency of the avalanche with the psychological power of the snowball. Here's how it works. Group your debts by interest rate clusters. Then, within the highest rate cluster, attack the smallest balance first. Let's say you have 4 debts. A credit card at 22% with a $3,000 balance, another credit card at 20% with a $5,000 balance, a personal loan at 18% with a $4,000 balance, and a car loan at 6% with $15,000 remaining. Traditional avalanche says attack the 22% card first. Traditional snowball says attack the $3,000 balance first. The hybrid approach says, since the 22% and 20% cards are both in the high interest cluster, attack the smaller $3,000 balance within that cluster. This gives you the psychological win of eliminating a debt quickly while still prioritizing high-interest debt mathematically. Once the $3,000 credit card is gone, you'd move to the $5,000 card at 20%, then the personal loan at 18%, and finally the car loan. You get momentum from early victories without sacrificing too much in total interest paid. The real power in debt elimination isn't just in choosing the right method, though. It's in increasing the gap between your income and expenses, so you have more ammunition to throw at your debts. Every extra dollar you can squeeze from your budget or earn from additional work accelerates your timeline dramatically. If you're only making minimum payments on a $5,000 credit card at 18% interest, you'll pay for over 20 years and spend more than $8,000 total. But if you can find an extra $100 per month to throw at that same balance, you'll be debt-free in 3.5 years and save over $2,000 in interest. This is where negotiation becomes your secret weapon. Many people don't realize that credit card companies, medical providers, and other creditors often have programs to help struggling borrowers. A simple phone call can sometimes result in reduced interest rates, payment plans, or even settlement offers for less than the full balance. The key is approaching these conversations from a position of good faith rather than avoidance. When calling creditors, have your financial situation clearly laid out. Explain what you can realistically afford to pay and ask what options are available. Many companies would rather work with you on modified terms than deal with the expense and uncertainty of collections or legal action. For credit cards specifically, ask to speak with the retention department and mention that you're considering closing the account due to financial hardship. These departments often have more flexibility to offer rate reductions or hardship programs. For medical debt, which often carries no interest, ask about payment plans that fit your budget. Many healthcare providers will accept surprisingly low monthly payments rather than sell your debt to collectors for pennies on the dollar. Student loans have specific hardship programs, income-based repayment options, and in some cases, forgiveness programs that can dramatically reduce your burden. The psychological game of debt elimination is just as important as the mathematical strategy. Debt payoff is a marathon, not a sprint, and maintaining motivation over months or years requires intentional effort. Create visual reminders of your progress. Some people use charts or graphs, others prefer apps that show shrinking balances. The method matters less than consistency in tracking and celebrating progress. Avoid the perfectionism trap that derails so many debt elimination journeys. If you have a month where you can't make extra payments, or even worse, have to add to your debt due to an emergency, don't abandon your entire plan. Treat it as temporary turbulence and get back on track the following month. The path to debt freedom is rarely linear, and expecting perfection sets you up for failure. Consider the opportunity cost of your debt payments as motivation for staying focused. Every dollar going to credit card interest is a dollar that could be invested for your future, used to build an emergency fund, or spent on experiences that matter to you. When you're tempted to slow down debt payments or take on new debt, calculate what that money could do for you if it wasn't tied up in monthly payments to creditors. Building your debt elimination plan starts with listing every debt you owe. Include the creditor name, total balance, minimum payment, and interest rate. Choose your strategy based on your personality and past experience with financial goals. Set up automatic payments for at least the minimums to avoid late fees and credit score damage, then systematically attack your target debt with any extra money you can generate. The goal isn't just to eliminate debt, but to develop the systems and mindset that prevent you from accumulating problem debt again in the future. As you pay off each balance, resist the temptation to see that monthly payment as available spending money. Instead, redirect it to the next debt, your emergency fund, or investments. This keeps you in the habit of living below your means and accelerates your journey to financial freedom. Your relationship with debt will determine your financial trajectory for decades to come. Master the art of strategic debt elimination now, and you'll free up hundreds or thousands of dollars every month that can be redirected toward building wealth instead of paying for past consumption. The mathematics are simple, but the execution requires both strategy and persistence. Choose your method, commit to the process, and prepare to experience the incredible lightness of financial freedom. 8. Automate to accumulate. Systems that save you from you. The hardest part about building wealth isn't knowing what to do. It's doing what you know, consistently, even when you don't feel like it. Even when that new gadget catches your eye, or when your friends invite you out for expensive dinners 3 nights in a row. Even when you're tired, stressed, or convinced that skipping your savings plan just this once won't matter. This is where most people fail. They rely on willpower, which is like trying to run a marathon on nothing but caffeine and good intentions. Willpower works great until it doesn't, and it always runs out at the worst possible moment. The solution isn't to become a person with superhuman self-control. The solution is to build systems that work even when you don't want to. Think about the wealthiest people you know or have heard about. They don't wake up every morning and decide whether or not to save money today. They don't sit down each month and carefully consider whether to invest or spend their extra cash on something fun. They decided once, set up systems to handle it automatically, and then moved on with their lives while their money worked in the background. This is the power of automation. When you automate your finances, you remove the daily decisions that drain your energy and sabotage your progress. You pay yourself first before you even see the money, which means you can't spend what isn't there. You eliminate the internal negotiations, the excuses, and the moments of weakness that keep most people stuck in the same financial position year after year. The foundation of any wealth-building system is paying yourself first. This means the moment money hits your account, a predetermined amount immediately gets moved toward your future self. Not after you pay bills. Not after you see what's left over. First. This isn't about being selfish or irresponsible. It's about recognizing that if you don't prioritize your financial future, no one else will. Most people do this backward. They pay everyone else first and then save whatever remains, which is usually nothing. They pay their landlord, their credit card companies, their phone company, their streaming services, and their coffee shop habit. Then they look at what's left and promise to save more next month when they have more money. Next month comes, expenses mysteriously expand to fill the available space, and the cycle repeats. When you flip this sequence, everything changes. You pay your future self first, then work with what remains. This forces you to live on less than you earn, which is the only mathematical way to build wealth. It also means your savings happen whether you feel motivated or not, whether you had a good month or a challenging one. The key is to set up separate accounts that serve different purposes. Your checking account becomes a hub where money arrives and then gets distributed according to your predetermined plan. You need an account for your fixed monthly expenses like rent and utilities. You need an account for variable spending like groceries and entertainment. You need an account for irregular expenses that come up throughout the year. And you need accounts for your various savings and investment goals. This might sound complicated, but it actually simplifies your life dramatically. Instead of trying to mentally track how much you can spend without derailing your savings goals, each account has a specific job. When the entertainment account runs low, you know you've hit your limit for the month. When the emergency fund reaches your target amount, you know you can redirect that automatic transfer toward your next goal. The magic happens when you set up automatic transfers that move money between these accounts without any input from you. On the day after your paycheck arrives, predetermined amounts flow to each account like water through irrigation channels. Your savings, investments, and bill payments happen whether you remember them or not, whether you feel like it or not, whether you're busy or distracted or tempted by something else. This system works because it aligns with how your brain actually operates. You have 2 modes of thinking. One is fast, emotional, and focused on immediate gratification. The other is slow, rational, and capable of considering long-term consequences. When you're setting up your automation system, you're operating in the second mode. You're thinking clearly about your goals and making rational decisions about how to achieve them. But day-to-day life activates the first mode. You see something you want, you feel stressed about money, you get invited to do something expensive with friends. In these moments, your emotional brain takes over, and your long-term goals feel abstract and distant. This is exactly when you need your systems to take over. The transfers happen automatically, guided by decisions your rational brain made during a calm moment. not by whatever your emotional brain wants in the heat of the moment. The percentages you choose matter less than the fact that you choose them and stick with them consistently. Some people save 20% of their income, others start with 5% and gradually increase it over time. The important thing is to start with amounts that feel sustainable but slightly challenging. If saving feels too easy, you're probably not saving enough. If it feels impossible, you'll abandon the system entirely. As your income grows, your automated savings should grow with it. This is where many people make a crucial mistake. They get a raise or bonus and immediately adjust their lifestyle to match their new income level. Instead of living on more money, they should live on the same amount and automatically save the difference. This prevents lifestyle inflation from stealing their wealth-building momentum. The same principle applies to windfalls like tax refunds, gifts, or unexpected income from side projects. Instead of treating this money as fun money, automate a percentage of it toward your financial goals. You can still enjoy some of it, but make sure your future self gets a share too. Automation also works for small amounts that you might not even notice. Many accounts offer features that round up your purchases to the nearest dollar and save the difference. Spending $4.67 automatically saves 33 cents. These tiny amounts seem insignificant, but they add up faster than you might expect while requiring zero effort or attention from you. The key is to make wealth-building behaviors easier than wealth-destroying behaviors. When saving happens automatically, it requires no willpower. When you have to transfer money manually every month, you're relying on motivation and memory, both of which are unreliable. When your investment contributions happen without your involvement, you can't talk yourself out of them during market downturns or when you're tempted by other uses for the money. You can also automate increases to your savings rate. Many retirement accounts allow you to set up automatic annual increases, where your contribution percentage goes up by 1% each year. This means your savings rate grows along with your income and experience. But the increases happen gradually enough that you barely notice the difference in your take-home pay. The goal is to create a system where wealth building happens in the background of your life, not as the main focus. You want to automate the boring, essential tasks so you can spend your mental energy on the creative, enjoyable parts of improving your financial situation. Let the robots handle the routine transfers. You focus on finding ways to increase your income, optimizing your systems, and enjoying the process of watching your net worth grow month after month. This approach works because it acknowledges a fundamental truth about human nature. You're not going to make perfect financial decisions every day for the rest of your life. You don't need to. You just need to make a few good decisions about how to set up your systems and then let those systems handle the day-to-day execution while you focus on living your life. Your challenge for this chapter is to automate 3 transfers before Friday. Pick specific amounts and specific accounts, set up the automation through your bank's website or app, and then step back and let the system work. Don't make this complicated or perfect. Make it functional and get it running. You can always adjust the amounts and destinations later, but you can't get back the time you lose by waiting for the perfect system that never comes. 9. The 503020. Upgraded. The Rich Life Allocation. Most people approach money like they're trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. They create elaborate budgets with 17 categories, track every coffee purchase, and wonder why they still feel broke at the end of the month. The traditional budgeting advice you've heard your whole life is designed to make you feel guilty about spending money rather than helping you build wealth. It's time to throw out the rule book and embrace a system that actually works for real people living real lives. The classic 503020 rule tells you to spend 50% on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings. This framework was revolutionary when it first appeared because it gave people permission to enjoy their money while still saving for the future. But like most financial advice, it was created for a world that no longer exists. Today's reality demands an ND pair upgrade, something more sophisticated that acknowledges the complexity of building wealth while living a rich life right now. The problem with traditional budgets isn't that people lack willpower or discipline. The problem is that budgets treat money like a finite resource that must be carefully rationed rather than a tool that can be multiplied. When you operate from a scarcity mindset, every dollar spent feels like a dollar lost forever. This creates an internal conflict between enjoying today and securing tomorrow, and most people end up doing neither particularly well. The rich life allocation changes everything by shifting your focus from tracking expenses to designing outcomes. Instead of asking whether you can afford something, you start asking whether it moves you closer to or further from your vision of wealth. This subtle shift transforms money management from a defensive game into an offensive strategy. Here's how the upgraded system works. Instead of 3 buckets, you create 4 distinct categories that serve different purposes in your wealth-building journey. The first bucket is foundation, which covers your absolute essentials. These are the expenses that keep your life running smoothly and your opportunities intact. Housing, transportation, food, basic clothing, insurance, and minimum debt payments all live here. The key insight is that foundation expenses should be optimized for efficiency, not luxury. Every dollar you save in this category becomes a dollar you can deploy for wealth building. The second bucket is experience, and this is where most people get confused. Traditional budgeting makes you feel guilty about spending money on enjoyment, but the rich life allocation recognizes that experiences and relationships are investments in your happiness and personal growth. The money you spend on travel, entertainment, hobbies, and social activities isn't waste if it genuinely improves your quality of life. The trick is being intentional about these choices rather than mindlessly consuming. The third bucket is growth, and this is where the magic happens. Growth money goes toward anything that increases your earning potential or builds your wealth over time. This includes investments, business ventures, education, skill development, networking events, and any expense that positions you to earn more in the future. The wealthy understand that the best way to afford anything is to increase your income, and growth expenses are the pathway to making that happen. The fourth bucket is protection, which covers the insurance policies, emergency funds, and legal structures that safeguard everything you're building. Most people either ignore protection entirely or buy way too much of it. The right amount of protection gives you peace of mind without draining resources from more productive uses. The percentage allocation depends on your current situation and goals, but here's a starting framework that works for most people building wealth from a modest income. Aim to keep foundation expenses between 40 and 50% of your income. This might seem impossible if you're currently spending 60 or 70% on basics, but remember that foundation expenses should be optimized for efficiency. You might need to get a roommate, drive an older car, or shop at different stores, but every dollar you free up here creates leverage in the other categories. Experience expenses should account for 15 to 25% of your income. This might seem like a lot if you're used to feeling guilty about fun spending, or not enough if you're accustomed to lifestyle inflation. The key is being intentional about what brings you genuine joy versus what you spend money on out of habit or social pressure. A weekend trip with friends might be worth 3 months of premium cable channels you rarely watch. Growth investments should claim 20 to 30% of your income, and this is where you separate yourself from people who stay broke forever. Most people save whatever is left over after all other expenses, which means they never save anything at all. Wealthy people pay their future selves first, then figure out how to live on the remainder. This might feel uncomfortable initially, but discomfort is often the price of admission to a better financial future. Protection expenses should run 5 to 10% of your income, depending on your situation. If you're young and single with no dependents, you need less insurance than someone supporting a family. If you're building a business, you might need more legal and financial protection than someone working a traditional job. The goal is adequate coverage without over-insuring against every possible risk. The beauty of this system is that it adapts to irregular income, which describes most people's reality in today's economy. Instead of setting fixed dollar amounts for each category, you work with percentages that scale up and down based on your monthly earnings. When you have a great month, every category benefits proportionally. When income dips, you maintain the same balance between present enjoyment and future wealth building. For people with variable income, the key is establishing what you call a baseline month. This is the minimum amount you can reasonably expect to earn in a typical month. Build your foundation expenses around this baseline figure. Then treat anything above it as bonus money to be allocated across the other 3 categories. This prevents you from inflating your lifestyle during good months in ways that become unsustainable during slower periods. Sinking funds are the secret weapon that makes this whole system work smoothly. Instead of being surprised by periodic expenses like car maintenance, holiday gifts, or annual insurance premiums, you set aside money each month for these predictable but irregular costs. Create separate savings accounts for different sinking funds, and automate small, monthly transfers so the money is available when needed. This prevents you from derailing your wealth-building plan every time life happens. The Rich Life allocation also incorporates something most budgets ignore completely, which is the psychology of money management. Instead of making you feel restricted and deprived, this system gives you explicit permission to spend money in ways that align with your values and goals. When you spend money from your experience bucket, you can enjoy it fully because you know your foundation and growth needs are already handled. When you invest money from your growth bucket, you can be patient with the results because you're still living well in the present. Perhaps most importantly, this system recognizes that building wealth isn't just about accumulating money. It's about creating the freedom to live according to your values rather than your circumstances. Someone earning $50,000 per year who has optimized their foundation expenses and maximized their growth investments might have more real wealth than someone earning twice as much, but spending everything on lifestyle inflation. The traditional 50-30-20 rule was designed for people who wanted to avoid financial disaster. The Rich Life allocation is designed for people who want to create financial abundance. It acknowledges that you can't budget your way to wealth any more than you can diet your way to health. True prosperity comes from increasing your income while maintaining intentional spending habits that support both present happiness and future freedom. Your challenge is to design your own Rich Life allocation based on your current income, goals, and values. Then implement it for the next 60 days. Track your progress not by how perfectly you stick to the percentages, but by how the system changes your relationship with money and your progress toward wealth-building goals. 10. Invest like you'll forget. Indexing, DCA, and risk rules. The most powerful investment strategy ever created is also the most boring one. While others chase hot tips and try to outsmart the market, wealthy people do something far more radical. They invest in everything, own it forever, and ignore the noise. This approach has created more millionaires than any other strategy in history, yet most people overlook it because it requires no special skills, generates no exciting stories, and demands nothing more than patience. When you invest like you'll forget, you're harnessing the single greatest wealth-building force available to ordinary people: compound growth over time. The math is simple but staggering. Money that grows at 8% annually doubles every 9 years. $1,000 invested today becomes $2,000 in 9 years, $4,000 in 18 years, and $8,000 in 27 years. But here's the catch. This only works if you actually leave it alone. The enemy of investment success isn't market crashes or economic uncertainty. It's your own emotions, and the endless temptation to do something when doing nothing would serve you better. Every time you check your account balance, read financial news, or consider making changes based on recent performance, you're fighting against decades of evidence showing that the best investors are either dead or forgot they had accounts. Index investing is the foundation of this forget and grow strategy. An index fund is simply a basket that holds pieces of hundreds or thousands of companies. When you buy shares of a broad market index fund, you become a partial owner of businesses across every industry and economic sector. You own pieces of companies that make everything from morning coffee to space rockets, from banking services to entertainment platforms. The beauty of indexing lies in its simplicity and inevitability. You don't need to research individual companies, analyze financial statements, or predict which industries will thrive. You simply bet on the long-term growth of human productivity and innovation. As long as people wake up every day trying to solve problems and create value, the collective worth of all businesses tends to grow over time. This approach removes the impossible burden of picking winners. Nobody knows which specific companies will dominate the future, but we can be reasonably confident that some companies will figure it out. By owning a piece of everything, you ensure that when the next breakthrough happens, you'll profit from it automatically. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to participate in it. Dollar cost averaging turns this strategy into an emotional armor that protects you from your worst instincts. Instead of trying to time perfect moments to invest, you simply invest the same amount at regular intervals, regardless of what markets are doing. When prices are high, your fixed investment amount buys fewer shares. When prices are low, the same amount buys more shares. Over time, this smooths out the emotional roller coaster of investing and ensures you're buying more shares during the inevitable downturns. The psychological power of dollar cost averaging cannot be overstated. It transforms market volatility from a source of stress into a mechanical process. Bad news becomes irrelevant because you're investing anyway. Good news becomes irrelevant because you're investing anyway. Your investment success becomes divorced from daily headlines and quarterly predictions, anchored instead to the simple discipline of consistent action. Risk in investing isn't what most people think it is. The biggest risk isn't losing money in a market crash. The biggest risk is not investing at all, or stopping too early, or trying to be too clever. Money sitting in savings accounts feels safe, but it's actually guaranteed to lose purchasing power to inflation over time. The dollars you save today will buy less stuff 20 years from now, making cash the riskiest long-term strategy of all. Your investment timeline determines how much risk you can handle and how much risk you need to take. If you're investing money you'll need next year, the stock market is too unpredictable and you should stick with savings accounts or short-term bonds. But if you're investing money you won't touch for decades, you can afford to ride out the inevitable ups and downs in exchange for higher, long-term growth. The general rule is simple. The longer your timeline, the more you can invest in stocks through index funds. A person in their 20s might put 90% of their investments in stock index funds because they have 40 years to ride out any storms. Someone approaching retirement might shift towards 60% stocks and 40% bonds to reduce volatility as they get closer to needing the money. Account types matter because taxes can eat away a huge chunk of your investment returns over time. Tax-advantaged accounts, like retirement plans, let your money grow without the government taking a cut each year. Traditional accounts give you a tax break today, but you pay taxes when you withdraw the money later. Alternative accounts use after-tax money but let you withdraw everything tax-free in retirement. For most people, starting out, the priority order is straightforward. First, contribute enough to any employer retirement plan to get the full company match, which is free money you can't afford to leave on the table. Second, maximize contributions to tax-free retirement accounts if you qualify. Third, go back and max out traditional retirement accounts. Finally, once you've used up all the tax-advantage space, you can invest in regular, taxable accounts. Health savings accounts represent the ultimate tax advantage for those who qualify. Money goes in tax-free, grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free when used for medical expenses. Since healthcare costs tend to increase with age, these accounts effectively become tax-free retirement accounts for many people. The investment vehicle matters far less than the habit of investing consistently. You don't need to find the perfect index fund or optimize every detail before you start. Any broad market index fund from a major provider will work fine. The difference in fees between good options is tiny compared to the cost of waiting to start. Starting with small amounts builds the habit and proves to yourself that investing isn't scary or complicated. $25 per week might not seem like much, but it adds up to $1,300 per year. Invested consistently over 30 years with average market returns, those small weekly investments could grow to well over $200,000. The hardest part of successful investing is staying invested during bad times. Markets crash regularly, sometimes losing half their value over short periods. Financial media amplifies every scary headline and expert prediction of doom. Friends and family members panic and sell at exactly the wrong time. Your account balance drops, and your instinct screams at you to do something, anything, to stop the pain. This is where the forget strategy becomes essential. Bad times are temporary. Growth over decades is permanent. Every major market crash in history has been followed by recovery to new highs, usually faster than experts predicted. The investors who got rich were the ones who either ignored the crashes entirely or used them as opportunities to buy more shares at lower prices. The secret is to reframe market downturns as sales events rather than disasters. When your favorite store has a 50% off sale, you don't panic about the falling prices. You get excited about the bargains. Market crashes are the same thing. Everything you want to own forever is suddenly available at a huge discount. Your regular investments automatically buy more shares during these sales, setting you up for bigger gains when prices recover. Building wealth through investing requires boredom tolerance rather than financial genius. The winning strategy is laughably simple. Buy broad market index funds, invest the same amount regularly regardless of headlines, and don't touch the money for decades. The challenge isn't intellectual, it's emotional. Can you stick with a boring plan while others chase exciting trends? Can you do nothing while others frantically trade? Can you stay invested when everyone else is panicking? Most people can't, which is why most people don't build serious wealth through investing. They get bored during good times and start looking for something more exciting. They get scared during bad times and sell at the worst possible moment. They let perfect become the enemy of good and never start at all because they can't decide between options that don't matter. The path to investment success is paved with ignored opportunities to be clever. Every time you resist the urge to make changes, you're probably making the right choice. Every boring month where you automatically invest the same amount in the same index funds is a month you're building wealth the way rich people actually do it, rather than the way financial entertainment suggests they do it. Your investment strategy should be so simple you could explain it in one sentence and so automatic you could follow it without thinking. Buy index funds regularly and leave them alone. Everything else is commentary, complication, or distraction from the simple path to wealth. Reader Challenge. Open an investment account this week and set up an automatic $25 weekly transfer into a broad market index fund. Don't research for months or wait for perfect conditions. Pick any major provider, choose their basic stock market index fund, and start. The goal isn't to optimize everything perfectly. It's to begin the habit that will compound into wealth over time. 11. Side hustle to small business. Validate, launch, scale. The distance between having a side idea and actor. Building a real business feels enormous when you're staring at it from the broke side of the equation. Most people never cross that gap because they make it harder than it needs to be. They spend months planning, researching, and perfecting before they ever ask a single person if they want what they're selling. Then they wonder why nobody shows up when they finally launch. The truth is simpler and scarier. You find out if your idea works by selling it, not by thinking about it. Every successful business started with someone making an offer to solve a problem, and someone else saying yes. Everything else is just decoration around that core transaction. The first step isn't building anything. It's figuring out what problem you can solve that people will pay you to fix. This means getting out of your head and into conversations with real humans who have real problems. The best business ideas don't come from brainstorming sessions in your kitchen. They come from hearing the same complaint over and over until you realize you could fix that thing for money. Start with what you already know, have, or can learn quickly. The internet is full of stories about people who invented completely new things and became millionaires. But those stories are rare because they're remarkable. Most wealth gets built by people who take something they're already decent at and find someone willing to pay for it. You don't need to be the world's best at anything. You just need to be good enough to solve someone's problem better than their current solution. Look at your existing skills through the lens of problems they could solve. If you're organized, there are people drowning in chaos who would pay you to help them get sorted. If you understand how to use basic software, there are business owners struggling with tasks you could knock out in an hour. If you can write clearly, there are people who know what they want to say but can't figure out how to say it. The mistake most people make is trying to serve everyone. They create these broad, vague offers because they think casting a wider net means catching more fish. The opposite is true. The more specific you are about who you help and what problem you solve, the easier it becomes for the right people to find you and say yes. Instead of saying you help people get organized, say you help busy parents create systems so they can find important documents in under 2 minutes. Instead of offering general writing services, offer to write the follow-up sequence for service providers who are great at their work but terrible at staying in touch with prospects. The specificity makes it real in their minds. Once you know what problem you solve and who has that problem, you need to test whether they'll actually pay you to solve it before you build anything elaborate. This is where most people get it backwards. They spend weeks creating websites and business cards and perfect processes, then discover nobody wants what they're offering. The validation process is uncomfortable because it requires you to ask people for money before you feel ready. You're going to feel like a fraud because you haven't built all the systems yet. That feeling means you're doing it right. Professional businesses figure out what people want by testing offers, not by guessing in isolation. Reach out to people who have the problem you solve and make them an offer. Not a pitch about what you might do someday, but an actual offer with a specific outcome, timeline, and price. Tell them exactly what they'll get, when they'll get it, and what it costs. Then ask if they want to move forward. You'll get mostly no responses at first, and that's valuable data. Pay attention to why people say no. Is the problem not painful enough? Is your solution not clear? Is the price wrong? Is the timing off? Each no teaches you something about how to make the next offer better. The yes responses are even more valuable because they tell you what's working. When someone agrees to pay you for something that doesn't fully exist yet, you've found product market fit. Now you know what to build. This approach feels risky because you're promising to deliver something before you've worked out all the details, but it's actually less risky than the alternative. Building first and selling later means you might spend months creating something nobody wants. Selling first and building second means you only create things people have already agreed to buy. Start with a simple service you can deliver personally. Products and courses and complicated systems come later, after you understand what people actually want and how much they'll pay for it. Services let you learn about your customers while getting paid for your education. Price your offers based on the value you create, not the time you spend. If you can solve a problem that saves someone $1,000 or makes them $1,000, charging $300 is reasonable, even if it only takes you 3 hours. People don't buy hours, they buy outcomes. Don't undercharge because you're nervous about delivering value. Low prices attract people who don't value what you do and make your life harder. Higher prices give you room to over-deliver and create customers who tell other people about you. The goal isn't to be the cheapest option. The goal is to be the obvious choice for people who have the problem you solve. Once you've made your first few sales and delivered on your promises, you can start thinking about systems and processes. But even then, keep it simple. The best business systems are the ones that help you deliver consistent results to your customers, not the ones that make you feel like a real business owner. Track what works and do more of it. If you got customers by reaching out directly, reach out to more people. If you got customers through referrals, ask for more referrals. If you got customers through a particular platform or community, spend more time there. Growth comes from doubling down on what's already working, not from trying 10 new things at once. The transition from side hustle to real business happens when you start making decisions based on data instead of feelings. You know which offers convert and which don't. You know what kind of customers are easy to work with and which ones drain your energy. You know what you can charge and what delivers the most value for your time. Most people never make this transition because they get comfortable with the side hustle income and don't want to risk losing it by changing anything. But staying small is also a risk. Markets change, problems evolve, and what works today might not work tomorrow. The businesses that survive and grow are the ones that keep testing new offers and finding new ways to create value. Your first $100 proves you can solve problems people will pay for. Your first $1,000 proves you can do it consistently. Your first $10,000 proves you can build systems around it. Each milestone teaches you something new about how business works and what your customers really want. The path from broke to financially free isn't about having one perfect idea. It's about developing the skill of turning ideas into offers, offers into sales, and sales into systems. That skill, once you have it, works in any market and any situation. It's the difference between having a job and creating wealth. 12. The negotiation playbook. Earn more without a second job. The fastest way to increase your income isn't finding another job or launching a side hustle. It's asking your current employer to pay you more for the work you're already doing. Yet most people would rather scrub toilets for extra money than have a 5-minute conversation about their salary. This fear costs the average person hundreds of thousands of dollars over their career. Negotiation isn't about being aggressive or demanding. It's about presenting evidence that you deserve more compensation based on the value you create. When you approach it as a business conversation rather than a personal plea, everything changes. You stop being someone asking for a favor and become someone presenting a case for mutual benefit. The foundation of any successful negotiation is research. You need 3 types of data before you walk into that room. First, you need market data that shows what people in similar roles at similar companies are earning. Second, you need a comprehensive list of your accomplishments and contributions over the past year. Third, you need to understand your company's financial health and your manager's priorities. Market research starts with understanding your true job title and responsibilities. Many companies use creative titles that don't match industry standards, so focus on what you actually do rather than what your business card says. Look at salary surveys, job postings for similar roles, and professional networks to gather data points. The goal isn't to find the highest number you can and demand it. The goal is to establish a range that reflects fair market value for your skills and experience. Your accomplishment inventory should go back at least 12 months and include both quantitative and qualitative wins. Did you save the company money by streamlining a process? Did you bring in new clients or retain existing ones? Did you take on additional responsibilities without additional pay? Did you solve problems that others couldn't? Write down specific examples with numbers whenever possible. Instead of saying you improved customer service, say you reduced complaint resolution time by 30% or increased customer satisfaction scores from 70 to 85%. Understanding your company's situation helps you time your request appropriately and frame it in terms they care about. If the company just had its best quarter ever, that's different from asking during a hiring freeze. If your department just lost 2 key people and you've been covering their work, that's leverage. If your manager just got promoted and needs to show they can develop talent, that's an opportunity. Once you have your research, you need to craft your narrative. This isn't about what you need or want. It's about what you've delivered and what you plan to deliver going forward. Start with your accomplishments, connect them to business value, and then present your request as a natural next step. The conversation should flow from past performance to future potential to current compensation alignment. Practice your opening statement until it feels natural. Something like, "I've been reflecting on my contributions over the past year, and I'd like to discuss my compensation. I've documented some key wins, and I think there's an opportunity to better align my pay with the value I'm creating." This is professional, confident, and focused on business rather than personal need. When you make your actual request, give a specific number rather than asking what they think is fair. Saying, "I'd like to discuss a salary adjustment to match my expanded role and contributions," is weaker than saying, "Based on my research and performance, I believe a salary of X reflects fair market value for my role." The specific number anchors the conversation and shows you've done your homework. Don't just focus on base salary. Total compensation includes bonuses, benefits, professional development, flexibility, and advancement opportunities. Sometimes, a company has more flexibility in these areas than in base pay. Maybe they can't give you a 20% raise, but they can increase your bonus target, pay for additional training, or allow remote work that saves you commuting costs. Timing matters more than most people realize. The best time to negotiate is typically after you've completed a major project, received positive feedback, or taken on new responsibilities. Annual review cycles are obvious times, but don't wait if you have a compelling case. The worst they can say is that it's not the right time and ask you to revisit the conversation later. When you present your case, lead with value and accomplishments before mentioning compensation. Walk through 2 or 3 specific examples of how you've contributed to team or company success. Then transition to market research that shows your current pay relative to industry standards. Finally, make your request and then stop talking. Silence is your friend in negotiations. Let them process and respond. Be prepared for common responses. If they say there's no budget, ask when budget discussions happen and how you can be included in future planning. If they say you need to wait until your next review, ask what specific accomplishments would support your request at that time. If they say your performance doesn't warrant an increase, ask for specific feedback on what needs to improve and a timeline for reassessing. If they say yes immediately, don't assume you asked for too little. Say thank you, confirm the details in writing, and ask when the change will take effect. If they need time to consider it, suggest a timeline for follow-up and stick to it. If they say no, ask what would need to change for them to say yes in the future. The conversation doesn't end when you leave the room. Follow up with an email summarizing what was discussed and any next steps. This creates a paper trail and shows professionalism. If you got the increase, confirm the amount and effective date. If you didn't, confirm what success looks like going forward and when you'll revisit the conversation. Many people negotiate once and then never bring it up again. The most successful approach is to make compensation conversations a regular part of your career management. Every 6 to 12 months, you should be documenting your accomplishments and assessing whether your pay reflects your contribution. This doesn't mean asking for a raise every 6 months, but it means staying aware of your value and being ready to advocate for yourself when appropriate. Negotiation is a skill that improves with practice. The first time will feel uncomfortable, but each conversation gets easier. You're not asking for charity or a favor. You're presenting a business case for fair compensation based on the value you create. When you approach it with confidence and preparation, most managers will respect the professionalism even if they can't immediately say yes. The biggest mistake people make is waiting until they're frustrated or desperate to have this conversation. By then, it feels emotional rather than strategic. The best time to negotiate is when you're performing well and feeling confident about your contributions. This energy comes through in how you present yourself and makes the conversation more likely to succeed. Your current job is your best source of income growth because you already have the relationship, the knowledge, and the track record. A 20% raise on your current salary often beats starting over somewhere else, especially when you factor in the time and energy required to job search. Master the art of internal negotiation, and you'll build wealth faster than people constantly chasing new opportunities. Schedule that conversation within the next 30 days. Your future self will thank you for finding the courage to ask for what you're worth. 13. Taxes are your biggest bill. Keep more. Legally. Most people treat taxes like the weather, something that happens to them rather than something they can influence. They wait until April, gather their papers in a panic, and hand everything over to someone else hoping for the best. This passive approach costs the average person thousands of dollars every single year. The wealthy think differently about taxes. They see every dollar sent to the government as a dollar that could have been working for them, compounding and growing their wealth instead. The first step in taking control of your tax situation is understanding how the system actually works. Many people believe they pay their tax rate on every dollar they earn, but that's not how it functions. The tax system uses brackets, which means different portions of your income get taxed at different rates. If you're in the 22% bracket, that doesn't mean you pay 22% on everything you make. You pay 10% on the first portion, 12% on the next chunk, and so on until you reach the higher rates on your top dollars. This distinction matters because it changes how you think about earning more money. Some people actually turn down raises or extra work because they think it will push them into a higher bracket and cost them money overall. That's impossible under our system. Making more money might mean paying a higher rate on those additional dollars, but your existing income stays taxed at the same rates as before. Understanding the difference between deductions and credits is equally important. A deduction reduces the amount of income that gets taxed. If you're in the 22% bracket and have a $1,000 deduction, you save $220 in taxes. A credit on the other hand, reduces your tax bill dollar for dollar. A $1,000 credit saves you exactly $1,000 in taxes, regardless of your bracket. Credits are more powerful, but both can significantly impact your final bill. The key to paying less in taxes legally is maximizing every deduction and credit available to you while strategically timing your income and expenses. This requires thinking about taxes year-round, not just when filing season arrives. Throughout the year, you should be tracking potential deductions, making strategic decisions about timing, and positioning your finances to minimize your tax burden. One of the most powerful tools for reducing taxes is maximizing contributions to tax-advantaged accounts. Your employer retirement plan allows you to contribute pre-tax dollars, which reduces your current taxable income. If you contribute $6,000 to your 401k and you're in the 22% bracket, you immediately save $1,320 in taxes. That money grows tax-free until you withdraw it in retirement, potentially decades of compound growth you wouldn't have had if you'd paid the taxes up front. Individual retirement accounts work similarly, allowing you to deduct contributions from your current year taxes while the money grows for your future. Health savings accounts are even better from a tax perspective because contributions are deductible, growth is tax-free, and withdrawals for medical expenses are never taxed. It's the only account that provides 3 layers of tax advantages. The order in which you fund these accounts matters enormously. Start with any employer match in your retirement plan because that's free money you can't get anywhere else. Then maximize health savings account contributions if you have access to one. Next, consider increasing your retirement plan contributions or opening an individual retirement account. Finally, look at taxable investment accounts after you've exhausted the tax-advantaged options. If you have any kind of side business or freelance income, you gain access to additional deductions that aren't available to regular employees. Home office expenses, business equipment, professional development, networking meals, and travel can all potentially reduce your taxable income. The key word is potentially, because every deduction must be legitimate, necessary for your business, and properly documented. Setting up a simple tracking system is crucial for capturing these deductions throughout the year. Many people lose thousands in legitimate write-offs simply because they don't track expenses properly or lose receipts. Create a system where every business expense gets recorded immediately, whether that's through an app on your phone, a dedicated folder, or a simple notebook. The method doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Business entity selection becomes important as your side income grows. Operating as a sole proprietor is simple but offers limited tax benefits and no liability protection. Forming a business entity like an LLC or corporation can provide additional deductions and potentially reduce self-employment taxes, but it also adds complexity and costs. The break-even point where the tax savings exceed the additional hassle typically happens when you're earning several $1,000s annually from your business activities. Timing is another powerful tool in tax planning. If you expect to be in a lower tax bracket next year, you might delay income until January and accelerate deductions into December. If you expect higher income next year, you might do the opposite. This becomes particularly relevant if you have variable income from bonuses, business profits, or investment gains. Investment timing also affects your tax situation. Holding investments for more than a year before selling qualifies you for long-term capital gains rates, which are significantly lower than ordinary income rates for most people. Short-term gains get taxed as regular income, so patience can save you substantial money. You can also harvest losses by selling investments that have declined in value to offset gains from other investments. Tax loss harvesting is a strategy where you intentionally sell investments at a loss to reduce your taxable gains from other investments. You can deduct up to $3,000 in net losses against ordinary income each year, and any additional losses carry forward to future years. This allows you to reduce your current tax bill while repositioning your portfolio for future growth. Estate planning considerations also impact your current taxes. Annual gift tax exclusions allow you to transfer wealth to family members without tax consequences. Contributing to 529 education plans for children or grandchildren can provide state tax deductions while removing money from your taxable estate. Life insurance held in properly structured trusts can provide tax-free income to beneficiaries. Record-keeping becomes critical as your financial situation grows more complex. The tax authorities can audit returns for 3 years in most cases, or 6 years if they suspect significant underreporting of income. Having organized, detailed records protects you in an audit and ensures you don't miss legitimate deductions. Digital tools make this easier than ever, but the key is establishing a system and following it consistently. Professional help becomes worthwhile as your situation grows more complex, but you need to remain informed and involved. A good tax professional can save you far more than their fees through strategic planning and ensuring you claim every legal deduction. However, the responsibility for accuracy ultimately rests with you, so understanding the basics remains important even when working with professionals. The compounding effect of tax savings is often underestimated. Saving $2,000 annually in taxes and investing that money instead creates tremendous long-term wealth. Over 30 years, assuming a 7% return, those tax savings compound to over $200,000. That's the power of keeping money in your pocket instead of sending it to the government unnecessarily. Tax planning isn't about complicated schemes or aggressive strategies that might trigger audits. It's about understanding the rules, maximizing legal deductions and credits, using tax-advantaged accounts effectively, and thinking strategically about timing. These fundamentals alone can save most people thousands of dollars annually while staying completely within the bounds of tax law. Reader challenge. Review your last tax return and identify one tax optimization strategy worth at least $1,000 in annual savings. Whether it's maximizing retirement contributions, setting up proper business expense tracking, or adjusting your investment timing, implement this change before the end of the current tax year. 14. Credit power. From score to leverage. Your credit score is more than just a number on a report. It's your financial reputation translated into a 3-digit code that determines whether doors open or slam shut when you need money. Think of it as your money personality distilled into something lenders can quickly judge. The difference between a poor score and an excellent one can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime, or it can save you that same amount. Most people treat their credit score like the weather, something that happens to them rather than something they actively control. That mindset keeps them trapped in a cycle of paying premium prices for everything from car loans to apartment deposits. The beautiful truth about credit is that it's a game with known rules, and once you understand those rules, you can play to win. Your credit score isn't a mysterious algorithm that randomly decides your fate. It's calculated using 5 specific factors, each with a different weight in the final calculation. Payment history carries the most influence at 35% of your score. This means simply paying your bills on time, every time, is the single most powerful thing you can do for your credit. One late payment can drop your score by 50 to 100 points. But consistent on-time payments build a foundation that compound over months and years. The second most important factor is credit utilization, which accounts for 30% of your score. This measures how much of your available credit you're actually using. The magic happens when you keep your utilization below 10% across all your cards, with the ideal target being under 5%. If you have a credit card with a $1,000 limit, using more than $50 shows lenders you might be stretched thin financially. The counterintuitive part is that using 0% can actually hurt your score slightly because it suggests you're not actively managing credit. The sweet spot is having small balances that you pay off in full each month. Length of credit history makes up 15% of your score, which is why closing old credit cards can backfire even when you're trying to simplify your finances. That card you opened in college might have a terrible rewards program and an annual fee you hate paying, but if it's your oldest account, closing it could shorten your average account age and drop your score. Instead of closing old cards, consider downgrading them to no-fee versions or simply leaving them open with small, recurring charges that you pay automatically. Credit mix accounts for 10% of your score, rewarding you for successfully managing different types of credit simultaneously. Having only credit cards shows less diversity than someone who responsibly handles credit cards, a car loan, and a mortgage. This doesn't mean you should take on debt you don't need, but it explains why your score might jump after you finance a car or buy a house, assuming you continue making all payments on time. The final 10% comes from new credit inquiries and recently opened accounts. Each hard inquiry can temporarily drop your score by a few points, and opening multiple new accounts in a short period sends red flags to lenders. However, this factor has the shortest memory. Inquiries stop affecting your score after 12 months and fall off your report entirely after 2 years. Knowing these factors allows you to create a systematic approach to score improvement. The quickest wins come from addressing utilization and payment timing. If you're currently carrying balances on multiple cards, focus on paying down the cards with the highest utilization percentages first, not necessarily the highest balances. A card that's maxed out at $500 hurts your score more than a card with a $2,000 balance on a $10,000 limit. One powerful technique involves making multiple payments throughout the month instead of waiting for your statement to arrive. Credit card companies typically report your balance to the credit agencies once per month on your statement date, not your due date. If you make a large purchase early in your billing cycle and then make your payment after the statement closes, that high balance gets reported even though you paid it off in full. By making payments before your statement closes, you can keep your reported utilization low while still using your cards regularly. The utilization sweep technique takes this concept further by paying down all your cards to low balances right before each statement closes, then using them normally throughout the following month. This creates a pattern where your credit reports show consistently low utilization, even though you might be putting significant spending through your cards for rewards or convenience. For people with limited credit history, becoming an authorized user on someone else's well-managed account can provide a significant boost. When a family member or trusted friend adds you to their account, that account's positive payment history and low utilization can appear on your credit report, sometimes adding years of positive history instantly. The key is making sure the primary account holder has excellent payment habits and low utilization, because their mistakes will hurt your score just as much as their good habits help it. Credit repair often involves disputing inaccurate information on your credit reports. You're entitled to free copies of your credit reports from all 3 major agencies once per year, and reviewing them carefully can reveal errors that are dragging down your score. Common mistakes include payments marked as late when they were actually on time, accounts that belong to someone else with a similar name, and negative marks that should have expired and been removed. The dispute process requires patience and documentation, but removing even one significant error can boost your score substantially. Building business credit opens up opportunities that personal credit alone cannot provide. Business credit cards often offer higher limits, better rewards, and the ability to separate your business and personal expenses for accounting purposes. More importantly, business credit doesn't appear on your personal credit report as long as you don't personally guarantee the debt, which means you can potentially access more total credit without affecting your personal utilization ratios. The psychological shift from viewing credit as emergency money to seeing it as a tool for building wealth changes everything. Credit becomes leverage when you use it strategically to invest in income-producing assets or to optimize your cash flow timing. Real estate investors routinely use credit to acquire properties that generate monthly cash flow exceeding the loan payments. Business owners use credit cards with long promotional interest rates to finance inventory purchases or equipment upgrades that increase their earning capacity. Credit card rewards programs represent free money for people who pay their balances in full each month. The key is matching your spending patterns to cards that reward your largest expense categories. If you spend heavily on dining and travel, a card that offers multiple points per dollar in those categories can return hundreds or thousands of dollars in value annually. The mistake most people make is chasing sign-up bonuses without considering whether they can comfortably meet the spending requirements or whether the card's ongoing rewards match their lifestyle. Advanced credit strategies involve understanding how credit inquiries are grouped for major purchases. When you're shopping for a mortgage or car loan, multiple inquiries within a short window typically count as a single inquiry for scoring purposes. This allows you to shop around for the best rates without destroying your score. But the window is usually between 14 and 45 days, depending on the scoring model. Your credit utilization can be optimized by requesting credit limit increases on existing cards rather than opening new ones. Many card companies will grant automatic increases to customers with good payment history, and higher limits make it easier to maintain low utilization percentages. The ideal approach is to increase your available credit while keeping your spending constant, creating more breathing room in your utilization calculations. The ultimate goal isn't just achieving an excellent credit score, but using that score to access opportunities that build long-term wealth. Excellent credit opens doors to the best mortgage rates, business financing, and investment opportunities. The difference between a good rate and a great rate might seem small in percentage terms, but over the life of a large loan, those small percentages translate into tens of thousands of dollars in savings. Credit mastery requires patience, because most improvements take time to show up in your score. Payment history builds over months and years of consistent behavior. Credit age cannot be rushed, but the results compound, and excellent credit becomes a permanent asset that serves you for decades. Every month you delay optimizing your credit is a month you're potentially overpaying for loans, missing investment opportunities, or being turned down for financial products that could accelerate your wealth building. Reader challenge. Raise your score 40+ points in 3 months. 15. Real estate. Simplified. House hack to rental stack. Real estate has created more millionaires than any other investment vehicle, yet most people view it as impossibly complex or reserved for those who already have money. This perception keeps ordinary people locked out of one of the most accessible paths to building wealth. The truth is that real estate investing can be straightforward, predictable, and achievable even if you're just starting your journey from broke to financially free. The beauty of real estate lies in its multiple profit centers. Unlike other investments that rely solely on appreciation, real estate pays you through monthly cash flow, tax benefits, mortgage paydown by tenants, and long-term appreciation. This combination creates a compounding effect that accelerates wealth building in ways that single-benefit investments cannot match. Your entry point into real estate doesn't require a massive down payment or perfect credit. House hacking represents the most accessible strategy for beginners because it combines your housing need with an investment opportunity. The concept is simple. Buy a small multifamily property, live in one unit, and rent out the others to cover most or all of your housing costs. This approach allows you to qualify for owner-occupied financing, which typically requires lower down payments and offers better interest rates than investment property loans. When you house hack effectively, your tenants essentially pay your mortgage while you build equity and learn the fundamentals of property management. The experience you gain from managing your first property while living on site is invaluable education that prepares you for future investments. You'll learn how to screen tenants, handle maintenance requests, collect rent, and deal with the inevitable challenges that come with being a landlord, all while having the safety net of living right there. The numbers on a house hack need to make sense from day one. Look for properties where the rental income from the other units covers at least 75% of your total housing expenses, including mortgage, insurance, taxes, and basic maintenance reserves. In many markets, you can achieve complete housing cost elimination or even positive cash flow while building equity through mortgage paydown and appreciation. Once you've mastered your first house hack and built some equity, the rental stack strategy becomes your next evolution. This involves systematically acquiring additional rental properties using the equity from your previous investments as stepping stones to the next deals. The key is patience and conservative underwriting to ensure each property truly adds to your wealth rather than creating financial stress. The 1% rule serves as your initial screening filter when evaluating potential rental properties. This guideline suggests that monthly rent should equal at least 1% of the property's purchase price. While this rule has become harder to achieve in many markets, it remains a useful benchmark for quick property evaluation. A property that rents for $1,500 per month should cost no more than $150,000 to meet this standard. Cash-on-cash return provides a more sophisticated analysis of your actual investment performance. This calculation divides your annual cash flow by the total cash invested in the Flows divider stern with dollars. Property, including down payment, closing costs, and initial repairs. A cash-on-cash return of 8 to 12% typically represents a solid real estate investment, though your specific requirements may vary based on your risk tolerance and local market conditions. Conservative underwriting protects you from the optimistic assumptions that destroy real estate investors. Always estimate expenses at the higher end of reasonable ranges and rental income at the lower end. Factor in vacancy rates of at least 8% annually, even in strong rental markets. Budget for capital expenditures like roof replacements, heating system repairs, and major appliances by setting aside 5 to 10% of rental income monthly. Financing options extend far beyond traditional bank mortgages, opening doors for investors with various financial situations. FHA loans allow owner-occupants to purchase multifamily properties with as little as 3.5% down, making house hacking accessible to those with limited savings. Conventional loans offer more flexibility for investment properties, but typically require 20 to 25% down payments. DSCR loans evaluate your ability to service debt based on the property's rental income rather than your personal income, making them ideal for investors with strong rental properties but complex personal income situations. Portfolio lenders keep loans in-house rather than selling them to government agencies, allowing for more flexible underwriting criteria and creative financing solutions. Partnerships can accelerate your real estate investing when structured properly. You might partner with someone who has capital but lacks time or expertise, while you contribute sweat equity and management skills. Alternatively, you could partner with an experienced investor who provides knowledge and systems while you contribute energy and deal-finding abilities. Clear partnership agreements that define roles, responsibilities, profit splits, and exit strategies are essential for successful collaborations. Property management systems separate successful investors from those who burn out quickly. Develop standardized procedures for tenant screening, lease agreements, rent collection, maintenance requests, and property inspections. Many investors fail because they treat property management as an informal, reactive process rather than a systematic business operation. Tenant screening represents your most important landlord skill because good tenants solve most property management problems before they start. Establish clear criteria for income verification, credit scores, rental history, and background checks. Apply these standards consistently to avoid discrimination issues and ensure you select tenants who will pay rent on time and take care of your property. Technology can streamline many landlord responsibilities without requiring advanced technical skills. Online rent collection systems eliminate the hassle of paper checks and provide automatic late fee calculations. Digital maintenance request platforms create paper trails and help you track recurring issues. Property management software can handle lease renewals, expense tracking, and financial reporting. Market selection significantly impacts your investing success, sometimes more than individual property choices. Look for markets with diverse economies that aren't dependent on single industries or employers. Growing populations, job growth, and infrastructure improvements typically indicate strong rental markets. Avoid markets with declining populations or economic bases, regardless of how cheap the properties might seem. The rental stack strategy works by leveraging your growing equity and experience to acquire additional properties systematically. After building equity in your first investment, you can refinance or sell to access capital for the next purchase. This process creates a compounding effect where each property makes the next acquisition easier and faster. Risk management in real estate investing requires preparation for various scenarios that could impact your cash flow or property values. Maintain adequate cash reserves to handle vacancy periods, unexpected repairs, and economic downturns. Consider geographic diversification if you plan to build a large portfolio, avoiding concentration in a single neighborhood or market. Insurance becomes more complex as you build a rental portfolio, but proper coverage protects your wealth from catastrophic losses. Landlord insurance covers property damage and liability issues that standard homeowners insurance excludes. Umbrella policies provide additional liability protection that becomes increasingly important as your net worth grows. Tax benefits can significantly enhance your real estate returns, but they require proper documentation and understanding of current regulations. Depreciation allows you to deduct a portion of your property's value annually, even while it appreciates. Mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, repairs, and many other expenses are deductible against rental income. Real estate investing success comes from treating it as a business rather than a hobby. Maintain detailed financial records, create systems for recurring tasks, and continuously educate yourself about market trends and investing strategies. The investors who build substantial wealth through real estate are those who combine patience with systematic execution over many years. The path from house hacking to rental stack success isn't about quick wins or get-rich-quick schemes. It's about making smart, conservative decisions consistently over time while learning from each experience. Start with one property, master the fundamentals, and let your growing expertise and equity fuel your expansion into a wealth-building rental portfolio. 16. Protect the bag. Insurance, moats, and anti-fragility. Building wealth is like filling a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You can pour in as much water as you want, but if you don't patch the holes, you'll never fill it up. This chapter is about patching those holes and building walls around your bucket so nothing can knock it over. Most people think protection is boring. They'd rather talk about making money than keeping it. But here's the truth that separates the wealthy from the wishful. Rich people are obsessed with protection. They know that one uninsured disaster, one lawsuit, or one major life disruption can wipe out decades of careful building. The wealthy don't just earn more money, they create systems that make their money harder to lose. Think of protection like an immune system for your wealth. When your body's immune system is strong, you don't even notice it working. You go about your life, take reasonable risks, and trust that you're covered if something goes wrong. But when your immune system fails, everything else stops mattering. Your career, goals, your relationships, your dreams, they all take a back seat to survival. The same thing happens with your financial immune system. The foundation of financial protection starts with insurance, but not the way most people think about it. Insurance isn't about covering every possible bad thing that could happen. It's about covering the things that would financially destroy you. There's a big difference between inconvenient and catastrophic, and insurance should focus on catastrophic. Health insurance is non-negotiable, even if it feels expensive. Medical bills are the leading cause of personal bankruptcy, and they can happen to anyone. A single hospital stay can cost more than most people make in a year. Even if you're young and healthy, accidents happen. The goal isn't to get insurance that covers every doctor visit with a tiny copay. The goal is to get insurance that prevents medical emergencies from becoming financial emergencies. Term life insurance matters if anyone depends on your income. The rule of thumb is coverage equal to 10 times your annual income. But the real question is simpler. How much money would the people you care about need to maintain their lifestyle if you weren't there to earn anymore? If you have a spouse who would need to replace your income, or children who would need money for their care and education, term life insurance is one of the cheapest ways to create instant wealth for them if something happens to you. Disability insurance might be the most important coverage you've never thought about. You're more likely to become disabled than to die during your working years, and a disability that prevents you from earning income can be more financially devastating than death. If you became unable to work tomorrow, how would you pay your bills 6 months from now? Disability insurance replaces a portion of your income if injury or illness prevents you from working. Liability insurance protects you from lawsuits. If you own a car, you need more than the minimum required coverage. If someone gets seriously injured in an accident you cause, the minimum coverage won't come close to covering the damages, and they can come after your personal assets to make up the difference. The same principle applies to homeowners or renters insurance. The goal is to have enough coverage that a lawsuit can't reach your personal wealth. An umbrella policy extends your liability coverage across all your insurance policies for a relatively small additional cost. If you have any meaningful assets or income, an umbrella policy is usually worth it. It's called an umbrella because it sits over all your other policies and provides extra protection when they're not enough. Beyond insurance, you need emergency systems. Your emergency fund is your first line of defense against financial shocks, but it shouldn't be your only line. Think about what would happen if your income disappeared tomorrow. How long could you survive on your emergency fund? What other sources of money could you tap? Do you have skills that could generate quick income? Do you have assets you could sell without destroying your long-term financial plan? The wealthy think in terms of multiple backup plans. They don't just have one emergency fund. They have multiple sources of emergency money. They might have a cash fund, a line of credit they never use, investments they could liquidate, rental properties that generate income, or business assets that could be sold. The goal isn't to use all these options. It's to have them available so you never feel trapped by circumstances. Legal protection becomes more important as your wealth grows. Basic legal documents like a will, power of attorney, and healthcare directive aren't just for rich people. They're for anyone who wants to control what happens to their money and their care if they can't make those decisions themselves. Without these documents, the courts will make those decisions for you, and they might not make the choices you would want. As your assets grow, you might need more sophisticated legal structures. Limited liability companies can separate business assets from personal assets. If someone sues your business, they can't automatically go after your house. Trusts can protect assets for future generations and provide tax benefits. These structures aren't about hiding money or avoiding responsibility. They're about creating legal barriers that make it harder for one problem to destroy everything you've built. Digital security is becoming as important as physical security. Your financial accounts, your business systems, and your personal information are all stored digitally, and they're all vulnerable. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, and regular backups aren't just good ideas, they're essential protection for your wealth. Identity theft and digital fraud can drain accounts and destroy credit scores faster than almost any other financial disaster. Physical security matters too. Keep important documents in a fireproof safe or safety deposit box. Have copies of critical information stored separately from the originals. Make sure someone you trust knows where to find important documents and account information if something happens to you. The concept of anti-fragility goes beyond just protecting what you have. Anti-fragile systems don't just survive shocks, they get stronger because of them. You can build anti-fragility into your financial life by creating multiple income streams that don't all depend on the same factors. If you lose your job, your rental properties keep generating income. If the rental market crashes, you still have your business income. If your business struggles, you still have your investment portfolio. Skills are one of the most anti-fragile assets you can develop. Economic disruptions can destroy businesses and crash markets, but they can't take away what you know how to do. The more valuable skills you have, and the more different ways you can apply them, the more resilient you become. Focus on learning skills that become more valuable during difficult times, not just during good times. Your network is another anti-fragile asset. Strong relationships with people in different industries and different roles create opportunities and safety nets that you can't build any other way. When you're in trouble, the right relationship can open doors that money can't open. When you see an opportunity, the right network can help you move faster than competitors who are working alone. Health is the ultimate anti-fragile asset. Everything else becomes irrelevant if you don't have the energy and capacity to enjoy it. Investing in your physical and mental health pays dividends that compound over decades. Regular exercise, good nutrition, enough sleep, stress management, and strong relationships aren't just lifestyle choices. They're wealth protection strategies. Location flexibility is increasingly important. Anti-fragility, the ability to earn income from anywhere and live anywhere, gives you options that previous generations didn't have. If the economy in your city struggles, you can move. If opportunities emerge somewhere else, you can take advantage of them. If regulations change in ways that hurt your business, you can relocate to friendlier territory. The key to all protection strategies is balance. You can spend so much time and money protecting against potential problems that you never take the risks necessary to build wealth in the first place. The goal isn't to eliminate all risk. It's to eliminate the risks that could destroy you while keeping the risks that could make you wealthy. Protection should be proportional to what you're protecting. If you have $1,000 to your name, you don't need the same level of legal and insurance protection as someone with $1 million. But you do need some protection, and you need to increase it as your wealth grows. Start with the basics and add complexity only as you need it. Get adequate health insurance and start building an emergency fund before you worry about umbrella policies and legal entities. Master simple protection strategies before you move to sophisticated ones. The best protection system is one you understand and maintain, not one that's technically perfect but too complicated to manage. Your reader challenge is to fill your protection gaps this week. Review your insurance coverage and make sure you're protected against catastrophic losses. Check your emergency fund and make sure it's adequate for your current situation. Update your legal documents if they're out of date. Improve your digital security. Take one concrete action to make your wealth more anti-fragile. Protection isn't exciting, but it's what allows you to sleep well at night while your wealth grows during the day. 17. Wealth multiplier habits. Tiny wins. Massive compounding. The difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who stay stuck isn't intelligence, luck, or even starting capital. It's the accumulation of small, consistent actions that compound over time. While others search for the next big breakthrough or secret strategy, wealthy people understand a fundamental truth. Your daily habits are your wealth-building machine, and the quality of your financial future is determined by the quality of your daily systems. Think about water slowly carving through rock. Each drop seems insignificant, yet over time, entire canyons form. Your money habits work the same way. The person who automatically saves $10 every day will accumulate more wealth than someone who saves $1,000 once and then stops. The person who spends 15 minutes each morning reviewing their financial goals will make better money decisions throughout the day than someone who only thinks about money when problems arise. The challenge most people face is that good financial habits feel boring and insignificant in the moment. Skipping the daily latte doesn't feel powerful. Reading about investing for 20 minutes doesn't create immediate excitement. Tracking expenses seems tedious when you could be doing something more entertaining. But this is exactly why these habits work so well for building wealth. They're so small that anyone can do them, yet so powerful that when done consistently, they create dramatic results. The secret lies in understanding how habits stack and compound. When you establish one solid financial habit, it creates momentum for the next one. When you successfully track your expenses for 30 days, you naturally become more conscious of your spending patterns. This awareness leads to better spending decisions. Better spending decisions create more available money. More available money makes investing possible. Investing creates wealth. Wealth creates options. Options create freedom. But most people approach habit formation backwards. They try to change everything at once, relying on motivation and willpower to carry them through. They decide on Monday to start saving more, spending less, investing regularly, and tracking everything perfectly. By Friday, they've abandoned most of these changes because the friction was too high and the immediate rewards too small. The wealth multiplier approach starts with the smallest possible version of the habit you want to build. Instead of committing to save $500 per month, you commit to transferring $5 to savings every morning. Instead of promising to read an entire book about investing each month, you commit to reading one page about money every day. Instead of overhauling your entire budget, you commit to writing down every purchase for 1 week. These micro-habits work because they slip under your brain's resistance radar. Your mind doesn't fight against $5 or 1 page or 7 days of tracking. There's no internal argument about whether you have time or energy or motivation. The barrier is so low that you can do it even on your worst days. And it's the worst days that determine whether a habit sticks or disappears. Once you've successfully maintained a micro-habit for several weeks, something interesting happens. The action becomes automatic, requiring less mental energy and creating space for expansion. The $5 becomes 10, then 20, then 50. The 1 page becomes a chapter, then a book per month. The tracking becomes natural and extends to all areas of your finances. This is where the multiplication effect begins. Each established habit creates a foundation for the next level of wealth-building behavior. The person who has mastered automatic saving finds it easier to start automatic investing. The person who tracks expenses naturally begins optimizing them. The person who reads about money daily starts recognizing opportunities others miss. Your weekly wealth meeting becomes the cornerstone habit that connects all others. Every week, same day, same time, you spend 30 minutes reviewing your financial progress. You look at what money came in, what went out, and what got moved toward your future. You celebrate the wins, no matter how small. You identify what isn't working and make one small adjustment. You choose your focus for the coming week. This weekly practice might seem too simple to matter, but it's actually the habit that separates wealth builders from wealth wishers. Most people live financially unconscious lives, reacting to money situations as they arise rather than proactively steering toward their goals. The weekly wealth meeting creates conscious financial living. It keeps your money goals active in your mind instead of buried under daily distractions. During these meetings, you develop your opportunity radar. You start noticing patterns in your income and expenses. You spot trends before they become problems. You identify small inefficiencies that add up to significant money over time. You recognize when you're ready for the next level of risk or investment. You catch yourself slipping back into old patterns before they derail your progress. The key insight is that wealthy thinking becomes a habit just like any other behavior. The more often you think about growing money instead of just spending it, the more natural wealth building becomes. The more often you ask, how can this create value, instead of, how much does this cost, the more opportunities you notice. The more often you delay gratification for future benefit, the easier delayed gratification becomes. But perhaps the most important wealth multiplier habit is developing boredom tolerance. Building wealth is not exciting most of the time. It's putting the same amount into savings every month for years. It's watching your investments grow slowly and steadily without dramatic ups and downs. It's making the same smart spending decisions over and over again. It's showing up to do the work even when you don't feel motivated. The people who get rich quick usually get poor quick too because they never developed boredom tolerance. They need excitement and immediate results to stay engaged. When the initial enthusiasm wears off and the work becomes routine, they abandon their systems in search of the next exciting opportunity. They never experience the real magic of compounding because they never stay consistent long enough for compounding to work. Wealth multiplier habits train you to find satisfaction in consistency rather than excitement. You learn to measure progress in months and years rather than days and weeks. You develop the patience to plant seeds, knowing you won't eat the fruit for seasons to come. This patience becomes your competitive advantage, because most people lack it. The compound effect works on your habits themselves, not just your money. Each day you choose the wealth-building action over the immediate gratification option, you strengthen your capacity to make that choice again, tomorrow. Each time you automate a good financial decision, you reduce the number of decisions required to build wealth. Each small system you build creates leverage that makes the next system easier to implement. Your environment plays a crucial role in supporting these wealth multiplier habits. Remove friction from good choices and add friction to poor ones. Keep your investment app easily accessible and your shopping apps buried in folders. Set up automatic transfers so saving happens without thinking. Create visual reminders of your goals so you see them daily. Surround yourself with people who support your financial growth rather than undermine it. Track your habits, not just for accountability, but for momentum. Seeing a streak of consistent days creates motivation to keep the streak alive. Breaking a streak provides data about what circumstances trigger your old patterns, allowing you to design better systems. The tracking itself becomes a habit that reinforces all your other wealth-building behaviors. Building wealth multiplier habits is not about perfection. It's about consistency over time with room for human imperfection. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. You will temporarily fall back into old patterns. The habit is getting back on track quickly rather than abandoning the system entirely when you stumble. The person who saves consistently but imperfectly for 10 years will vastly outperform the person who saves perfectly for 3 months and then stops. The person who invests a small amount every month for decades will build more wealth than the person who makes one large investment and never adds to it. Your wealth multiplier habits are playing a long game where consistency wins over intensity every single time. 18. Financial Freedom Blueprint. your 5-year plan. You stand at a crossroads that most people never reach. Behind you lies the journey from broke to building wealth. Each chapter a milestone in your transformation from someone who worried about money to someone who commands it. Ahead lies the path to true financial freedom, where your money works harder than you do and your choices expand beyond what you once thought possible. This final chapter is not an ending, but a launch pad for the most important phase of your wealth journey. Financial freedom means different things to different people, but at its core, it represents the point where your passive income covers your living expenses permanently. You wake up each morning knowing that whether you work or not, your bills are paid, your lifestyle is funded, and your future is secure. This is not about becoming rich enough to buy luxury cars or expensive watches, though you can if that brings you joy. This is about buying back your time, your peace of mind, and your ability to make choices based on what you want rather than what you can afford. The path to financial freedom requires reverse engineering from your destination. Most people plan their money lives one paycheck at a time, always reactive, always scrambling. Wealthy people start with the end in mind and work backward, creating a clear roadmap that turns dreams into actionable steps. Your freedom number becomes your North Star, guiding every financial decision you make from this day forward. Your freedom number is the amount of money you need invested to generate enough passive income to cover your annual expenses. The traditional rule suggests you need 25 times your annual expenses invested in a diversified portfolio to safely withdraw 4% each year without running out of money. If you spend $50,000 annually, you need $1,250,000 invested. If you spend $80,000, you need $2 million. This might seem overwhelming now, but remember where you started this journey and how much you have already accomplished. The magic happens when you realize that your freedom number is not fixed. You have two levers to pull: increase your passive income or decrease your expenses. Every dollar you cut from your annual spending reduces your freedom number by $25. Every subscription you cancel, every expensive habit you replace with a cheaper alternative, every smart spending decision compounds over time. This is why the expense surgery you performed in earlier chapters was so critical. You were not just improving your cash flow, you were literally buying your freedom at a 25-to-1 exchange rate. Building wealth to reach financial freedom requires constructing what we call the income pyramid. At the base sits your primary job or career, providing stability and funding your initial investments. This foundation must be solid, which is why negotiating your salary and advancing your career remains important even as you build other income sources. Your job provides the steady cash flow that allows you to take calculated risks with other income streams. The second level of your pyramid consists of your side income, the additional money you earn from skills, time, or resources outside your main job. This might be freelance work, a small service business, or monetizing a hobby. Side income accelerates your journey to freedom, because every extra dollar can be directed toward investments rather than basic survival. The beauty of side income is that it often grows into something much larger while teaching you business skills your job never could. The third level represents business income, where you create systems that generate money with less direct input of your time. This could be your side hustle growing into a proper business with employees or contractors, rental properties that produce monthly cash flow, or royalties from creative work. Business income differs from side income because it continues to flow even when you step away from direct involvement. At the top of your pyramid sits portfolio income, money generated by your investments without any labor on your common part. Dividends from ownership stakes, interest from loans you have made, distributions from investment funds, and capital appreciation from assets you own. Portfolio income is the ultimate expression of your money working for you, and it becomes the primary driver of your journey to financial freedom. The timeline to financial freedom depends on your savings rate more than your income level. Someone earning $40,000 who saves 20% will reach freedom faster than someone earning $100,000 who saves 5%. This is why every habit you have built throughout this journey matters. Your automated systems ensure you save consistently. Your expense optimization means more money available for investing. Your income growth accelerates the timeline. Your debt elimination removes barriers to wealth building. Your 5-year plan becomes a series of annual themes, each building on the previous year's foundation. Year 1 might focus on income, stability and expense optimization, ensuring your foundation is solid. Year 2 could emphasize side income development and investment account growth. Year 3 might see you scaling your business income while maximizing your investment contributions. Year 4 could involve real estate acquisition or business expansion. Year 5 positions you for the final push toward your freedom number. Within each annual theme, you create quarterly targets that move you measurably closer to your goals. If your Year 1 theme is foundation building, your first quarter might target establishing your full emergency fund. Second quarter could focus on maximizing your retirement contributions. Third quarter might involve launching your first side income stream. Fourth quarter could concentrate on tax optimization and planning for Year 2. Weekly sprints break quarterly targets into manageable actions. Each week, you identify the most important tasks that advance your quarterly goals. This might mean sending 10 sales emails for your side business, researching 5 potential investment properties, or having 3 networking conversations that could lead to career advancement. The weekly sprint keeps you moving forward consistently rather than hoping for occasional bursts of motivation. Risk management becomes more critical as your wealth grows. You need contingency plans for various scenarios that could derail your progress. What happens if you lose your job? Your backup plan might include 6 months of expenses saved, a network ready to help you find new work, and side income streams that could expand to replace some of your lost wages. What if your business income disappears? You might diversify across multiple income sources and maintain skills that allow you to restart quickly. Economic downturns will test your resolve and your systems. Markets will decline, sometimes dramatically. Real estate values will fluctuate. Business income will vary. Your 5-year plan acknowledges these realities and builds resilience into your strategy. This means maintaining adequate cash reserves, avoiding excessive debt, and not putting all your wealth into any single asset class or income stream. The compound effect accelerates dramatically in the later stages of wealth building. Your investments begin generating serious returns. Your business systems produce increasing cash flow. Your skills command higher market rates. Your network opens doors to better opportunities. Each element reinforces the others, creating momentum that can surprise you with its power. Lifestyle inflation poses the greatest threat to your financial freedom timeline. As your income grows, the temptation to upgrade your living situation, transportation, dining habits, and entertainment choices grows with it. Every lifestyle upgrade extends your timeline to freedom by increasing the amount you need to maintain that lifestyle forever. This does not mean living like a monk while building wealth, but it does mean making conscious choices about which upgrades truly improve your life versus those that simply drain your resources. Your accountability systems become even more important as you work toward financial freedom. The journey takes years, and motivation naturally fluctuates. Having someone who checks on your progress, celebrates your wins, and helps you navigate setbacks makes the difference between reaching your goals and abandoning them halfway through. This might be a spouse, friend, mentor, or group of like-minded people on similar journeys. Regular progress reviews keep you on track and allow for course corrections. Monthly reviews examine your cash flow, investment performance, and progress toward quarterly goals. Annual reviews assess whether your targets remain realistic, your strategies are working, and your priorities have shifted. The plan guides you, but it should not imprison you. As you grow and learn, your plan evolves with you. The final months before reaching financial freedom often bring unexpected emotions. Fear that your calculations are wrong, guilt about having more than others, uncertainty about what life looks like when work becomes optional. These feelings are normal and temporary. You have built something remarkable through years of discipline, learning, and smart choices. You deserve the freedom your efforts have created. Financial freedom is not retirement from all productive work. Many people discover that without the pressure of needing to work for money, they choose to work on projects that excite them, causes they care about, or businesses they want to build. Freedom means having options, not having nothing to do. Your journey from broke to financially free represents more than just accumulating money. You have developed skills, habits, and mindsets that most people never acquire. You understand how money works, how wealth builds, and how to make financial decisions based on logic rather than emotion. These capabilities will serve you for the rest of your life and can be shared with the people you care about. The 5-year plan you create today will change as you implement it. New opportunities will emerge. Circumstances will shift. Your goals may evolve. The plan's value lies not in perfect prediction, but in providing direction and maintaining focus on what matters most. You now have the knowledge and tools to build lasting wealth. Your financial freedom awaits on the other side of consistent action guided by clear intention. Write your 1-page 5-year plan now. Start with your freedom number and work backward through the annual themes, quarterly targets, and immediate actions. Share it with someone who will help you stay accountable. Your journey from broke to financially free enters its most important phase today.